Voice test? Sound of voice. Voice, voice, voice. Noise from face. Face, noise, voice. Okay, that's working. No, that shouldn't be working! Hi. Everything is good. The chat's just catching up. There it is. It's caught up. That wants to be on. The other volume thing wanted to be not on, but it was on, but that's fine. That's fine. How's chat? Hello. Voice is good. That's definitely what I was doing. Not just meant to be testing it by myself. Great. People are great. That's good. No, that's great. Great is good. Good is satisfactory. Satisfactory is, oh, this is a problem. This needs to be improved. That's just how rankings work in life. So this is going to be a lot about the detachments and which ones are the best one and the many metrics I've come up to judge the best detachment. We'll be looking at both Adepta Sororitas and Genestealer Cult, not necessarily in that order. Maybe we'll mix them up a bit. Who's to say? I'm to say. I get to decide what happens, but I'll let you have some input, I suppose. It's been like a month since I streamed. I have missed you. Is that normal? Am I allowed to miss chat? Okay, good. Oh, if you're a channel member, I have a bunch of new emotes. You can do emote things. You can put emotes in the chat. Whatever you want. There's an emote. That's an emote. Those work as emotes. I have emotes. It's my party. I get to decide the music, the food, who turns up, who leaves, all of those good things. I do like the little Von Carmian emote. It's nice seeing like my own tiny face next to my actual face. Oh, it comes up interesting in the chat. Good. I'll have to make sure I never call them anything stupid. Otherwise, in this on-screen chat, it'll be like, oh yeah, this is just pain. You press the pain button, Von Pain, or something like that. Hello, Moth. Hello. Yeah, so you can only do my emotes if you are a member of the channel. Then you'll get the emotes as an optional emote thing. Otherwise, you just have the generic YouTube emote things. Yeah, it sadly doesn't come up in the on-screen chat, but that's part of an integration that goes with everything else that also tracks who's subscribed at this particular moment, who just became a member, who's given money to me. All of those things I condense down into one tracking device that then tracks everything. If I were to then split it up, oh, there would be much burning of computer hard drives as they whir faster with the fan. It's like, please stop, but I won't stop. I would just keep adding more and more things. So it's good to just narrow it down to there's one thing that does the thing. Hello, Hanwen, which I assume is how you pronounce your name and will not be corrected. A live stream, you are most welcome. You weren't assisted player when you found me, and now you are. Or you're about to be. Combat Patrol and the Boarding Patrol. Is that the new Combat Patrol? Because I like the new Combat Patrol more than I like the old Combat Patrol. I seem to be in the minority on this one. A lot of people are like, oh, I like having 3 Arco-Flagellants and 1 Penitent Engine and a bunch of other stuff. I like the new Combat Patrol. Boarding Patrol is great. I have no complaints with the Boarding Patrol. Boarding Patrol is like the current Combat Patrol, but you swap out the Arco-Flagellants for a Pentia, and that's basically it. And you get Sacrosants. Oh, the Rhino, yeah. Though it depended if you got the Start of the Edition Combat Patrol set. That had no Rhino. That was like a, hey, we have Battle Sisters. Who knew? It was like, yes, 2018, 2019 Battle Sisters. No Rhino in that box. Now there was a rhino, now the rhino's gone. You can still get rhinos. Rhinos are great right now. You should definitely have rhinos. Oh, hello, Floof. Hello. The stream has been on for about 5 minutes. It is going as well as you can expect for a 5-minute stream. Nice to have you here, Nexus Floof. I hope that all the Genestealer Cult things go in your favor. Many tournaments and things. I did okay with events I've been going to. The event had a problem. You see, it turned out that about half the people there hadn't read the tournament pack. So it was things like, oh yeah, great, everyone pulls out Pariah Nexus mission deck. Not playing Pariah Nexus mission deck, says it's Leviathan mission deck. Or, oh yeah, we know exactly how many points it is. Yeah, these army lists have not been checked over. There's some not allowed things in there. But never mind. It went fine. Got 2 Monopose boxes. 2 Army of Faith boxes. They're pretty rare. And a boarding patrol. And one new combat patrol. Yeah, you don't need to buy anything else sister related for a very long time. Unless you can swap with someone and just to get like... Well, you already have 2 Exorcists. You already have Rhinos. Don't need Immolators so much. Rhinos work pretty well. But you could swap someone for like characters, if you wanted more characters. Or just buy a Novitiate box and have all the characters you like. Build them however you want, make the characters you want. It's a great character set. I'll look more into the detachment things, but like Morwen Violent Paragon Warsuits, you've got Bringers of Flame, you've got Army of Faith. Those are both good choices. We'll look at it more detail a bit later. Fully Mechanized Sisters Army, you pretty much are Bringers of Flame. You could try others, there's no reason why not. When you have a lot of tanks, then the Hallowed Martyrs detachment does really well. But Bringers of Flame is probably one for mechanized. Dominions are good with melee enemies since they can reactive move away, yes. Also potentially a better Overwatch if you have flamer weapons. Potentially. There's no fights first in the Battle Sisters, is there? I don't think there is. That's the thing that you really want when it's melee armies. If I have some loci in my Genestealer Cult army and I can fight first, it's great. No problem against Orcs, Custodes or the rest of them. They die before me. Assault's not great against melee heavy armies. So, Battle Sisters. I mean, you could counter melee with melee. Whichever kind of melee. Ephriel Stern has fights first. Ephriel Stern has fights first, but she can't join any character. She's a character that can't join any of the units. So, our regular sisters can't get it, which is unfortunate. 5 Immolators from Razorbacks and last edition Immolators. I mean, I feel you've turned an Immolator into an Immolator there, Grumpy Old Badger. I don't think that counts as an amazing kit bash that you think it is. Well done. You took an Immolator and made an Immolator. That works. But good job. Good job. Against melee heavy armies. Trying to think what the sisters would be best with. Yeah, Assault you don't so much need because they're coming to you. The higher strength may be necessary if it's like Orcs. Then you'll be needing them to get rid of the hordes of the Orcs. Otherwise... I mean, Hallowed Martyrs doesn't do too badly. Then you got Fight on Death. That can work. And you can explode your tanks. That can work. And if you have melee units that survive the enemy melee attack, now you hit back harder. That works. Probably Martyred Lady. Yeah. How would you build an Army of Faith list? I haven't got that far myself. I've only got concept of Army of Faith. I'm trying to get a bit better with Bringers of Flame because a lot of people want to Bringers of Flame, and then I can do a video on the Bringers of Flame once I know enough about the Bringers of Flame detachment and what kind of silly and fun things I can do with it. Then we'll get more to Army of Faith, which looks to be the one I'm enjoying the most. I probably will end up being like, yep, Army of Faith for me, that is going to be my default go-to. Because I like the Miracle Dice, I like Sacred Rose. Having 1 million Miracle Dice is great. Having a stratagem that lets you increase armor penetration in edition that doesn't really have much armor penetration. That's good. And it works in combat or shooting. So, Army of Faith good against combat armies? Maybe. Maybe. Having miracle dice to just pass armor saves is really useful. I can get behind that. Good. I've noticed that there's new... Well, there's going to be the new Sisters Codex cards, like that at the start of the edition, where it's like, hey, here's your box of cards. Then you don't need to be flicking through your codex. You have the cards there. But there wasn't one mentioned for Genestealer Cult. And I'm wondering if that's going to be because there are errors with the Genestealer Cult that they want to fix in, like, the next couple of weeks. Ideally this weekend. And then they will say, okay, now that we fixed them, we can actually issue some new cards. But I don't know if that did that with any other faction because I wasn't tracking when the Necron cards came out or when the Custodes cards came out. I would have thought that they could come out at the same time since the Codexes came out at the same time. Interesting. So things that they could fix and should fix is how the metamorphs bolt pistols, not bolt pistols, auto pistols and hand flamers work. Because currently, if you have a character in your metamorphs with auto pistols and that character is something like a Primus that doesn't have a auto pistol, doesn't have an auto pistol. Yeah, because the Primus has a poison pistol, not an auto pistol. Then you don't get your automatic 6 Brood Surge move. Yeah. These are the first codexes to launch without the cards. Ooh. Maybe they are fixing stuff. So they need to fix some wording on the metamorphs to make their ability work more as intended rather than rules as written. There's also the Benefictus, because their ability is the model gets a 4+ invulnerable save when the model already has a 5+ invulnerable save, and it's only once per game for the phase. And then it should be for like the whole army, well, the whole unit. It should be for the whole unit. Yeah. Instead of cards, they just had the ability to print cards from the app. I mean, you probably just want the app in that case. Yeah. 15 angelic units. That's a lot of angelic units. It'll probably work though. If you can drown in miracle dice and you have a lot of ways to just discard miracle dice, like the Hospitaller, they work really well in the Army of Faith. The Palatine, the Dialogus, all of them are like just any dice, give me literally any miracle dice and I will do something amazing with it. I like them because even if you don't roll well, you get useful things out of your miracle dice. Whereas with the Genestealer Cult, if you don't roll well in your cult ambush, you get nothing! And that is your army rule. So maybe I should dive deep into fixing that, or maybe I should just go into the units. I should probably just go into the units first, and then we can look at fixing things once I know how good the units are. In like a general, hey, let's look at everything. Yeah, Dialogue still being 30 points is really good. I've noticed that now that we don't have the Crusaders and the Death Cult Assassins in tournament games, people are picking up just a Dialogus by themselves, 30 points, and playing them by themselves and having them walk onto the side of board and complete actions there. That's it. That's the whole use of a Dialogus, just because they're really cheap. I used to do it with a missionary, which is now the Ministorum Priest. So you could do it with a Ministorum Priest. Whichever one is cheapest, that's how you can do it. If the Magos in the Genestealer Cult gets cheaper, just having them wander onto the board, complete actions, is a good idea. You get points for them. That's how you win the game, by getting victory points. Some people are like, you kill things to get the winning and stuff. You don't. No. Getting the victory points wins you the game. I was going to do a live stream this weekend if there was some kind of big announcement or reveal, because there's a tournament event on, and Games Workshop likes to do tournament announcements and event announcements and things that are like, hey, look at this new codex, this mystery codex that we've been teasing for 6 to 8 months now. Let's tell you what it is. But they're not doing that this weekend. We know they're not doing that this weekend. Yeah. The Sisters cards maybe pre-order and not actually out yet. I'm sure they were on the this week in Warhammer. Here's all the things that you can buy, which includes the Necromunda big box. That's for pre-order. And I say a big box, but you get like 15 models in it, maybe 20 models. The one that's got the really nice Malstrain Genestealers, but not all of the Malstrain Genestealer stuff, because you don't get the Alpha, you don't get Fancy Man Reborn. What was his name? He had a fancy name. Tech Priest dude. Magus Biologics Hermiatus the Second, Hermiatus the Reborn. Which I think, yeah, that did get turned into a Space Crusade mission. It mentions it in an article. There was a Space Crusade mission about this. No one remembers Space Crusade. Some people remember Space Crusade. You'll have to tell me in the chat if you remember playing Space Crusade. It was like a dungeon crawler. It was kind of like Space Hulk, but you killed a variety of enemies. It wasn't just, here's loads of Genestealers coming at you. There were Genestealers. They were horrifying, but there was also Gretchen and Orcs and Chaos Space Marines and Renegade Androids, which were like Chaos Androids, not yet Necrons, but they would eventually become Necrons. And there was the Chaos Dreadnought, which was a big boss. Yeah. Space Crusade was a fun game. I like Space Crusade. They made a like computer game version of it, which was not very good because it was the 90s and it wasn't even running on like a Doom level engine. It just existed. Weird top-down interface. Didn't like it, didn't work well. At least not in the computer game version. Actual tabletop version, it's amazing. If you ever get the chance to play Space Crusade, where you have 5 Space Marines going through a bunch of killing things in Space Hulk, but it's not a Space Hulk. It's a crusade, but it's in space, and they're killing things. Yeah, it's enjoyable. New boarding patrol book was announced today. There's a new boarding patrol book? Oh, there's so many. Oh, I have not read any of these articles. Oh, yeah. Paint a Space Hulk red, something, new boarding action supplement. Well, we may still have quite expensive Repentia, but if we can get round a corner and charge the enemy, that's okay. I guess Arco-Flagellants will do quite well, because even if they take some damage, they won't be too bad. So there's the Genestealer Cult one, which is slightly limited. No duplicates of the Abominant. Oh, that's a shame. Up to 1 hybrid metamorph unit. Oh, I wonder if everyone will be taking 1 hybrid metamorph unit. Right. Okay, I'll have to have a look at that later. Any Army of Faith combos? Units in transports. Dominions in transports, that works really well. Dominions being split by an immolator, then you have half the Dominion squad with the simulacrum on your home objective. The other half is in the immolator, gets out and does murder stuff. And having Seraphim with a jump cannoness, and there's as many hand flamers as possible, and between an enhancement and a stratagem, you can do a lot of devastating wounds. Like a lot. But I'm going to see how it can work like more on foot. With a Palatine maybe, but then lethal hits with the flamers doesn't work so much. What did I say in the video I did yesterday? That was Preacher. Preacher with a flamer and Dominions. That can work. That can work. I'll be starting the tier list kind of soon-ish, but not right now. I just have many thoughts I want to chat about. And it gives a chance for people to get in. So they're not like, oh, there's a live stream, when did this happen? Have I missed the good bit? If I started immediately and immediately did the good bit, then people would be like, no, now I need to go watch the start of the live stream, not the current live stream, and it doesn't seem the same. Oh well. Age of Sigmar 4th edition is coming out. I'm less enthused because I've seen the rules and it's like, that's okay. That works. The rules seem fine. They seem simpler. The board is smaller. Well, at least the spearhead board is smaller. I can see some issues happening with the rules where it's like, this is an ability that targets this unit, brackets army, brackets once per game. It's like, okay, I can follow that, but it's where you got slightly different wording for all of the other things. Yeah, list building may get annoying for a lot of people if it's not quite right. I'll have to see how my vampires fare, and maybe my Skaven, but at the moment I've just been enjoying playing the old world. Because I can have my units in square blocks and rotate the blocks slightly, and it's like, oh, is there a pivot bonus? A pivot penalty? Not in Warhammer Fantasy. Well, yes, there is, because you got to rotate, so yes, there's always a bonus. Penalty bonus. Less movement. Less movement happens. Then you make your charge move, and then you get bonus initiative, which is a nice way of doing it, rather than just you charge, you fight first, which is how it currently is in 40k, and how it used to be in one of the editions of Warhammer Fantasy. It's a bit different to like initiative values, but you have initiative values in Warhammer Fantasy, so you can charge as fast as you can with skeletons, and you'll still fight last against elves. It's a bit annoying, but we cope with elves. Elves are the worst. Other people hate dwarves. It depends entirely on which army you play as to which army you hate. If you play Empire, you probably hate undead more than anything. Yeah. Saw the title. You like the Fellhammer detachment? Well, if you play Iron Warriors, yeah, that works. I played the Fellhammer detachment and I found it wasn't quite for me. Didn't have enough things for the cultists. Really nice endurance on like legionaries and tanks. That was good. That was good. Yeah. Oh, thank you for thanking me for my Deathwatch content. We'll see how much more Deathwatch things happen in the coming weeks and months, which might be, oh, they get a whole new revamp of the kill team system, or they get, yeah, there's 2 units, shut up and go away, or they just disappear entirely, or they become a couple of agent units, or they get a whole new codex by themselves, and it's like, well, what do you know? Here's like 12 new kill teams, figure it out yourself, or build your own kill team, but then we don't have power level even, so you can't quite add it up easily, and it'll end up looking like the Inquisitorial Acolytes unit, where it's like, okay, I've got 9 models, how many points is that? Oh, I've only got 1 of them, so I can't have 1 of them, and it reduces it. It's weird. It's a bit weird. Yeah, right now only the Inquisition knows what's coming, and the Inquisition isn't telling us. They're keeping it very secret. If I could create 3 new Sisters units, what would I get? I like snipers. If we could have like 3 teams of snipers, Battle Sister snipers, 1 sister shoots, 1 sister prays for the shot to hit. They could be blindfolded, they could both be blindfolded. I'd love to see some blindfolded sisters' heads. Then we have some really cool snipers. An Inferno turret. You know how we have in Dawn of War, if any of you played Dawn of War, that came out 20 years ago. Ooh. I think it was 20 years ago, yeah. But there's Inferno turrets. Although they are moving away from fortifications. But I would love some Inferno turrets. And then, hey, let's just get a drop Cathedral? No. A drop pod, Dominican pattern drop pod, that'd be nice. Or, really big tank? We could go with a really big tank. That could work. Really big tank. Yeah, Nero Automaton Sisters. Paragon Canoness. I mean, that could work. But then it's the issue of if the Paragon Canoness is better than Morwen Val, no one was going to take Morwen Val. It's okay as it is. I mean, Celestine's been a little bit pushed out at the moment by the Jump Pack Canoness, but Celestine works well by herself. I'll explain more about that in another video. Again, because I've explained it in past videos, but you've got to find it. I think it was a video I did about Celestine and the Canoness and the Palatine, so maybe it's not that hard to find. Any Legends units you like to play personally? Ooh. Well, I do have Crusaders. Battle Sister Crusaders, they're really good. They got better when they went to Legends. Extra wound, better ability. So very good. Or, trying to think of the other things. Oh, Imperial Guard. I have one of the mortars. I can't remember which of the mortars it is. I Is it a Griffin Mortar, but it's a platform? Earthshaker Carriage, but it's a platform? That may be a Imperial Armor one, so that's allowed in tournament games. Very confusing. Yeah, I'm a little bit annoyed that there was no Warhammer Plus battle report just to show off the battle sisters against the Genestealer Cult, which all of the other factions got. They didn't. So weird. Ah, they got a new Genestealer Cult. The old Genestealer Cult Combat Patrol. Get it. Just get it. The Hachette Combat Patrol magazine is going to be rolled out. The first issues are in August in the UK. And the first, month is all Space Marines and Tyranids. Whether they then go more for additional Space Marine and Tyranid units, or they switch to something else, we don't know. We don't know beyond, issue 5. And then, if you're in, the United States, it'll start up in about 6 months. And if you're somewhere like Canada or Australia, another year from now, it'll start up. So for so many people, the Imperium magazine, which has the Battle Sisters in it, is still being sold. Yeah. How's the music? Is the music fine? We're just on quite a loud track. That's fine. That's fine. That's low enough. Yeah. But then we'll get actually really cheap Genestealers. Whenever that happens. Whenever you get them. It's the good Combat Patrol. And we get oh, here's £10 for 5 Acolytes. Okay, £2 a model's pretty good. Oh yeah, definitely need trucks. I'm looking at more truck, more Genestealer Cult Acolytes. Ooh, more bikes maybe? We'll see how the bikes do. Because it's the old Combat Patrol plus a unit of Atalan Jackals. Maybe I'll get more Aberrants. I definitely do not need more Neophytes. I'm drowning in Neophytes. I still have so many more Neophytes to build. I'm running out of characters I'm going to build them as. Eventually I'll have to build a Clamavus. And it will just be awful. Imagine when I've been reduced to having to build a Clamavus. Right. Do you think Dominions and Immolators will go up because of their overuse? Maybe not. Immolators got quite a penalty, as they no longer give you full rerolls to wound. They give you -1... No, they just ignore cover for other things shooting at it that got out of the transport. So I don't think that Immolators will go up. Maybe Dominions will go up a little bit in points. I think the Dialogus will go up in points, and I'm hoping Repentia will come down a bit, because there hasn't been that crazy power from the Repentia that they were all fearing. Didn't ask to bring back Celestians. I know, but they're not a new unit. They're a traditional unit that we've already had. Just rotate the range slightly. Did I ever try Horus Heresy? And I picked Imperial Fists. I liked the Bolters. I found it was like playing an older version of 40k, but also you have reactions like Overwatch, which is a lot like 10th edition 40k, because they basically tried out the 10th edition rules of 40k in Horus Heresy. It was okay. I couldn't get a handle on the ideal game size, and it did seem to just be throwing Space Marines against Space Marines and seeing what happens, which is that Space Marines die. And getting back in the mindset of, okay, I have one guy in this squad that has 2+ save, so I should be putting all the saves on that guy. Unless there's a plasma gun coming my way, then don't. But if there's a rocket coming my way, then do, because otherwise it just kills a guy. Yeah. Yeah. I don't think it's that controversial, Danny Boy, to say that Immolator splitting is annoying. It can take a second to figure it out, how you do it, and all the different things. I get so many questions like, where is this rule? How do I use this rule? If I put a character in one of the half squads, does it affect the other squad? If I have a simulacrum in one half squad, can both squads generate a miracle dice? And it's trying to explain they're separate units, but like all rules purposes from then on. So it can be hard. Games Workshop hasn't changed the box art on the Battle Sisters, not mentioned Celestians. I know. If they did, though, they would have to throw out all of the old boxes into the bins. Because that's how they do it. They don't send it back to Nottingham to get repackaged. They just bin it as a loss, and then get new boxes in with new art on them. Yeah, it still tells you how to build them. Although if you look on the Games Workshop website now, they have a bit of false or incorrect advertising. If you look at the Dominions, it shows that you get 2 sisters with exactly the same pose, and you don't. It also shows the Dominion, well, the Battle Sister with a Stormbolter from the Monopose Combat Patrol set. You do not get that model in that box. But there it is. Being like, yeah, you can make this model, but you can't. It's not possible. So I'm a bit peeved on that. Yeah. But it still says like, hey, you can build Celestians. And then people ask, how do I get these Celestians? What guns do I give a Celestians? Where's the unit entry for Celestians? And the closest they've got is my video on Kit Bash homemade rules for Celestians. Yeah, you need that Monopose Stormbolter model? Well, it's not in the Dominions box. Yeah, if they were like, oh, just put it in the bins. I don't know if they did that with the Tau. Have they redone the Tau box? So that the art on the Tau has it so it says, yeah, you can build these 3 different kinds of Tau battlesuit units. Not just battlesuits. 3 different special kinds. Entire army of different ones. And then it's confusing to follow on. And if you weren't magnetizing as a Tau player, you were doing battlesuits wrong. They magnetize really easily. And with, like, Tau weaponry, no one can tell what it is. It's like, is that a flamer? I have no idea, says the Tau player. It could be a plasma rifle. I just know it's not a fusion rifle because that's a box. That's about it. Hello. Weren't Celestians a bit of internal redundancy? Well, they provided bodyguard abilities, which then wasn't as necessary once they got Celestians with combat weapons and they were also doing a bodyguard thing. So this is the problem when you have any of the units where they're like, what if this unit but combat? What if this unit but shooting? So are Zephyrim pointless when you have Seraphim? Maybe, unless the rules are drastically different. Or they did have mutilators, which are like chaos obliterators, but only for combat weapons, and no one took them because they looked ugly, were really bad, and it's like, oh, did I randomly generate the power axe I need? No, I got a chainsaw. This doesn't help against what I'm fighting. I think they have legend rules now, so you do just get to have a profile, and it's a decent profile, rather than it being random. One of the problems with Celestians with guns as well is Dominions are kind of taking the job as well. Yeah. Oh yeah, I mean, you can definitely make it work where you've got Zephyrim and Seraphim, and they're totally different things that do slightly different jobs, but only slightly. One is combat, one is shooting, but there's not that much difference between them. I'm trying to think of any other ones. Oh yeah, Tyrannid Warriors are a great example. There's Tyrannid Warriors with guns, there's Tyrannid Warriors with combat weapons. Just have it as one unit. There's no reason to split it up. Ah. Yeah. I was going to talk about Age of Sigmar a little bit. They have the new Spearhead stuff, and they've mentioned this is for competitive players. So I don't know if that means that it's designed to be competitive, or it's more of a something that is compatible as a competitive way to play. Like, you can do this as a competition. Hello, Raymond Crow. Welcome to being a Von Carmian supporter. You get all the emotes. So you can click the emotes if you wish. Ah. Emotes. What was I saying? Oh, yeah. So I don't know if they're like, okay, Spearhead, that is going to be the competitive way to play, or if it's going to be, it works as a competitive game if you really want. Unsure on that one. Yeah. What's my experience of Zephyrim? In the Codex, I don't know. I haven't used them yet. But in the Index, it was these don't hit well enough to, like, justify not having Seraphim instead. And playing against them, because I played against them, and they die really quickly. And they're getting into combat, so unless they absolutely wipe out whatever it is that they attack, it's not working as well. I can't remember where I put them in the tier list. Did I put them in B tier or A tier? I know they've gotten better than they were in the Index, but I don't know if that means you should be taking Zephyrim. If you have a Canoness, if you have the Triumph of St. Catherine, then you can get a speed boost to get them into combat. Then yeah, that can work. That can work. It's going to depend on the detachment you've got, which I know we're going to come to. You can run an entire, if you can make an, oh my, can make an entire Monster Girl Age of Sigmar army. You can do all trolls, but Age of Sigmar has gotten very split into like the armies. So if imagine, well, basically the Genestealer Cult Codex with the detachments, where they go very extreme. You have lots of these that are really good, but not the others. So if you do a Night Goblin army, you can do all spears, or you can do all squigs, or you can do all trolls. There isn't something that's like all of them in between. There's no Gladius Task Force equivalent detachment. Yeah. Maybe Zephyrim do need a points drop. I haven't seen how many tournament players are taking Zephyrim. I know Seraphim are still incredibly popular. Maybe more popular, because they're really good in the Army of Faith and really good in the Bringers of Flame detachment. Need some armor penetration which sisters lack for countering? Yes. Having AP2 swords, and then in the Army of Faith, which you probably want if you're taking Zephyrim, you can use this command point on a stratagem to get an extra point of armor penetration. AP3 does a lot more than AP2. Unless it's like against a 5+ save, but still, that works. Then you'll probably want lethal hits. Almost always lethal hits unless you're going into like cultist or guardsman. Something you're going to be wounding on a 3. Yeah. Love from the USA. Thank you, all of the USA. Oh no, I'm getting more and more people into Battle Sisters and Genestealer Cult, and then I'll be going to Games Workshop and giving them money. Did I mention I have affiliate links? If you check in the description, I'll just check that they're in the description. Yeah, there's loads of places you can get discounted models that isn't going through Games Workshop. So you can support the channel that way. Oh, also there is a tip money thing. A button there for Ko-fi, which fills the bar that's up at the top. Can I edit this live? Maybe I can. So that's going to be filling up as the stream goes on if people wish to give tip money. It's entirely up to you. That's an option. It'll pop up your message, so it definitely won't be missed, whereas things in chat potentially, but are unlikely to get missed. Yeah, you buy from eBay and Etsy. I mean, Etsy can have some decent things. If it's like markers, dice, anything like that, that works. Felix, welcome to being a member. Have some exclusive 3D proxies I commission and design. Well, it's a thought. I would have to get good at 3D printy stuff. Otherwise, it depends how much input you're having. If it's like, oh, I get to design my own army. Do I though? Or do I just say, make girl with big cannon on shoulder? And they're like, yes, sir, right away, I'll do that. It's going to end up like Homer Simpson when he designed a car. That is a really old episode. Ooh. But yes, something like that. If you're in the UK, don't buy from eBay. Yeah. Supply and demand on the market. I mean, if you got a very bad codex, as supposedly the Genestealer Cult is, secondhand Genestealer Cult models are going pretty well. If you're in Canada, you can go to Fenris Workshop, which is linked in the description. They have a secondhand like area where you can get some pretty cheap Genestealer Cult models. Painting Ebon Chalice, yes. Presumably Bringers of Flame. Gotta have Bringers of Flame if it's Ebon Chalice. That's their whole thing. Oh. And see, this is part of the fun of it. You can just get a little bit. You can get a combat patrol box and be like, okay, I'm done. This is my army. This works. You've got it with the Age of Sigmar Spearhead things, which could be just the main way to play. Potentially. But then this is the problem with like Warhammer Fantasy. You can't just casually start an army of Warhammer Fantasy and be like, you're done. If you have 20 models, that's not a combat patrol. That is one unit. You need 60 plus models for a small game of Warhammer Fantasy, Warhammer the Old World, and that's with an elite army. It's hard to get people into the like Warhammer Fantasy setting through the models. Age of Sigmar had an ally system right at the start, where it's like, oh yeah, here's your Death Grand Alliance, so you can buy any of the stuff you want from Death and field it all together in an army. But Warhammer Fantasy doesn't have that, and didn't have that many, like, releases. I think people said, oh yeah, if they waited a bit longer on Warhammer Fantasy until Warhammer Total War kicked off, or something else, or put more money into it, or more time into it, then... yeah, Age of Sisters. Whoops. Then, yeah, it still wouldn't have survived. I don't think it was going to survive. Not Warhammer Fantasy. Not the way it was looking. Because as soon as you've got an army, you don't build another army because you've seen how much effort it took just to get that army finished. Whereas 40k, well, I had like 2, then 3 Warhammer Fantasy armies. 40k, I'm on like 7 or 8. Which means that I could start Deathwatch just before Christmas, and now my Deathwatch army is done. And I wasn't like plugging away at it, being like, oh, I need to get 10 models done this weekend, another 10 models this next weekend. It just sort of happened overnight. That was the feeling anyway. Yeah. Okay. I think now that we've had 45 minutes, now we have plenty of people here. Now that I've pointed out that the tip bar does exist, and that's with the Ko-fi link in the description, I'll start doing tier list things. So, how do you balance the need to have an army that plays IRL and desire to just paint cool heroes? Mostly cool heroes, and then I just use them with like unit champions and things. 750 points is a good spot for busy people, and if you get 2 of them, 1500 points is a great size of like game. I saw all the responses on the, yeah, tournaments are not tracking how many games are unfinished. And so many people saying, it takes me like 4 to 5 hours to play like 2000 points. Minimum. There's no way I'm doing it in 3 hours. There's no right for that 3 hours to be in the core rulebook. So small games are better. Then you get more games in. It's good. 750 points is quite fun. That's like 1 vehicle, maybe 2 vehicles, depending if they're transports, and a few units and a couple of characters. Yeah, it's really good. And you don't get any of the silly stuff. Like, you can have a Baneblade if you want, but you're probably not going to win. It's just going to be survive the Baneblade, the mission. Yeah. I do have vampires in Age of Sigmar / Warhammer Fantasy. So I've got to have my vampires there. Good army. Right, but detachments. I know why you want to have, like, what is the best detachment? Because it takes time to build armies. You don't want to spend loads of times you don't have trying to figure out which one's the best, so you don't spend months painting like loads of tanks, only to find out that the tank detachment is not as good as you thought it was. Even though a lot of people like the Bringers of Flame. What knight would I recommend to convert to a Sisters Titan? I mean, it's going to be one with a melter or a heavy flamer, so the one with the melter or the one with the really big flamer. One of them. Maybe you get a Gatling gun as well? Oh, you need 3 guns, really, so you have the Holy Trinity. Yeah. Canis Rex works. Canis Rex does work. It's a weird gun. Doesn't look very sistersy, but yeah, it works. Right, so best detachment is going to depend on your collection. If you don't have that many, like, Imperial Guard units, then it doesn't matter if I am about to say that the Brood Brothers Auxiliary is the best detachment. You haven't got the units to take advantage of that, so best is always going to be a relative term. Ah, thank you, Mutfatson. Tried a 2,000 point Green Tides. You're so right about 1,000 point games. Yeah, that's going to be painful. You would need movement trays, circles, bits of paper you just shuffle around the board. Or just piles of orcs in like sacks, and you move the sacks around. That would probably be the best way to do it. Oh yeah, don't chase the meta, because the meta at the moment in 10th edition 40k, it changes every 3 months. Different points, different missions, different ways to play. Boarding Patrol is getting a new version. Crusade isn't getting a new version. We just have the Leviathan Crusade book, the Pariah Nexus Crusade book, and now they've put rules in White Dwarf 502 so that you can use the Pariah Nexus mission cards in your Crusade games. So the meta is changing. And then the meta, like, in tournaments is going to be changing. Oh yeah, they slightly increase the points on Orc Meganobs. People are less likely to take Bully Boys. People are more likely to take Green Tide. Are you ready for Green Tide? Things like that. Yeah. Oh yeah, there's very much a difference between what's good on paper and what's good to actually play. I mean, liking fire because fire is cool and going for the fire detachment because of that will work. Your mindset is in the right place for that detachment. But it was Chaos Space Marines in the Zealot-y one, the one that was like the Index. I had this really good idea of, okay, if I have a Chaos Lord and I have the Talisman of Burning Blood, so I get bonus attacks and bonus strength, and he's with Legionaries, so he's re-rolling all wounds, and he's getting loads of extra attacks with his once per game thing, and it just didn't have the impact I thought it was. And it was a lot of points as well. So it worked on paper, it was amazing on paper, but putting into practice, no. No. Or it's like Retributors jumping out of an Immolator. Yeah, you can take down a Land Raider. But is there a Land Raider in the enemy army? If that's a Land Raider with Flamers, it's going to overwatch and cook your Retributors before they get to fire their Melters. Otherwise, if there's no Land Raider, you can take out a Rhino, maybe 2 Rhinos, and you still haven't got your points back, and whatever's in the Rhino kills you. So that's why I'm very much like, yeah, this works on paper, but let's see if there's actually a situation in your games that's going to warrant it. Owning a huge army of sisters? Oh, then you can pick whatever's good. I mean, that's one way to do it. As soon as you get to about 3,000 points, that's the time when, yeah, you can cover whatever the meta is. Yeah. You can chase meta then if you have all of the units, but don't buy units just for the meta, because you might buy a Castigator for now thinking, oh yeah, Castigators are great. Maybe the points will go up and there'll be 190 points come the July, August, September points change. Then they'll be so far off meta, and then maybe their rule will change in the next codex, and then no one ever takes them ever again. And you've bought a tank, which you didn't get painted in time for a meta that had already passed you by. I know people who bought AdMech for like the start of 9th edition when they were really good. They didn't get painted in time for like the few months that AdMech was great. And AdMech quickly disappeared off the meta chart and stayed down. Yeah. Buy the models you think are cool. What else was said? Yeah, I mean, Battle Sisters have one advantage in their detachments. There's a lot of versatility. You can have, like, well, all of them except the Penitent Engine work with the majority of units. Genestealer Cult, on the other hand, has 3 detachments that go really hard on one particular aspect. The Bikes, the Aberrants, the Brood Brothers. The other 2 are a bit more general. Xenocreed is only versatile because it focuses on the core of the army. The Acolytes, the Neophytes, the Metamorphs, and having units led by characters. Because it's any unit, well, it's any Metamorph, Neophyte, and Acolyte unit led by any character that gets the detachment bonus. You don't need to be a Primus, Icon Ward, or Magos to get the rerolls to charge and rerolls to advance rolls. So if you have a generic Genestealer Cult army, Host of Ascension or Xenocreed are straight away going to be the best ones. Yeah. Would I recommend Genestealer Cult Detachment? Oh, could I recommend Genestealer Cult Detachment team up with Nids? It depends what kind of Nids. If the Nids are going Horde, then you could go Horde with them as Xenocreed. If the Nids are very slow and they're like monsters, then you could use Xenocreed to like cover the bases, so you have the objectives held, or the Bike, so that you have the objectives taken there. That's a different way of doing it, with sticky objectives on the Jackal Bikers and high objective control on the trucks. That can work. I don't think you'll need to go... Oh, I mean, you could go Biosanctuary Brood Surge if you need to get up there with the enemy. If the Genestealer, if the Tyranid player is going for the first one, the first attachment that's focused on their own Genestealers and Lictors. Can't remember the name of it. Nope, it's gone. But the one that infiltrates a lot of things. You could support them with Biosanctuary Brood Surge, or you could just hold back and cover the objectives. It's either going to be whatever their strength is, that's it, the Vanguard. Yes, the Vanguard Swarm. Yeah, you either want to cover their weaknesses, or whatever their strength is, double their strength. If they're doing Hordes with the Endless Swarm, you could also go Horde and Ender Swarm as well. Genestealer Cult are pretty good at that. And if they have the bodies that mean that, yeah, the enemy's not going to get to your cult ambush markers if you get them back, that can work. That could definitely work. Okay. Now I've got to navigate moving me around. Okay. I go here. This looks ominous. And that goes there. Nope. Yeah. Yep, that works. And then if I turn that on... Okay. I have both the music and that. Yeah. Okay, that works. Good. Good. So there's my detachment-ometer. Vanguard invasion Gambit. There's the invasion fleet, which is the really generic one and the one that a lot of people like, the one that was in the index. And then there's, yeah, Vanguard Swarm. Right. So there's going to be a bunch of metrics that we're comparing the detachments to. We can do it one army at a time. That's probably the best way, doing it one army at a time. I mean, I think I'm going to know the answer to this already. But which one do we want to do first? Come on, type properly. That's going to poll. There we go. That's polled. Okay. Okay. There. That's starting to run. When are we going to see my models on YouTube? Maybe even a battle report. The problem with battle reports is it's difficult to set up. You need like 3 or 4 cameras. You need a second person that's willing to do it. You need to have 10 hours to record the like 2-hour battle report. Even then you want to cut down even more. And oh, what do you get after that? Yeah, and you need good lighting. You need a great setup. What I would probably do a battle report on is using the Battlotron, where I have like the top-down colourful patterns on the green field and do the battle report that way. That will probably work better, be quicker. It'll work that way is how I'll do a battle report. If I can get a battle report going. I do have a lot of just, let's have great advice on the different units. Genestealer Cult need more love. Well, Genestealer Cult are going first. Okay. Yeah, still images, but that gets a bit boring. Here's a still image. Look at the still image. Let me describe how the truck moved a bit. Yeah. Would Genestealer Cult be a good 40k home for 100 shooty chaos cultists that have been relegated to legends?
Someone just tipped
Probably.
3.
Ah, thank you for the monies. Anonymous person. What was I saying? Yes, Genestealer Cult would probably be a good place because you've got neophytes. You could then just go, this is the Brood Brothers Auxiliary Detachment. That's where you can have your heavy weapons. That's where you can have your tanks and things. I think that would work really well. And a Chaos Cultist Insurgency. Because that was the old Imperial Armor Chaos thing. Yeah, that was good. Oh, I played with them so much. Just having a tide of 100 cultists rushing at the enemy. So enjoyable. So that, or you could play Chaos Space Marines, because they do have at least 3 kinds of cultists at the moment. With some cultist leaders, so a cult army can work. There is a detachment called the Chaos Cult Detachment. That is also a pretty good idea. But Genestealer Cult is a good place. Yes. Right, I had some words. Words. Okay, there's the first metric that I'm going to be ranking them. And we're doing Genestealer Cult first, then Battle Sisters. How easy is it to learn the detachment?
Senior David just tipped 3. Hallowed Martyrs is the way to go.
Hallowed Martyrs. Thank you for the tip. And I'm going to put up there so it can actually see it in front of all the others. There we go. Now it'll come up in the right place and we'll be able to see it. Thank you again. Thank you for the monies. Thank you. Do I need to refresh this to make it work? There we go. That works. It works. It just works. Right, how easy to learn are the detachments? So we have 5 Genestealer Cult detachments. Don't scroll. That's something I need to not do. There we go. We're back in the right place. So the Xeno Creed, which is a horde of bodies, is quite easy to learn because it's just remembering which of your units get the benefit, which is all of your neophytes, your acolytes, and your metamorphs. As long as you have those units, it's not too difficult to remember the different stratagems and the different abilities. Because there's 3 really good enhancements. You'll probably want the 3 really good enhancements. It's the Advance and Charge detachment. Is it best in group? We'll put it as good for the moment. Unless someone's about to say, no, I found it really difficult to learn how to use Xeno Creed. You're charging. You get more models. You charge with those models. Dominic, welcome to being a member. Oh, yeah, I'm going to go with remember the rules more than... Yes, definitely remember the rules. Because when it's like planning and winning, I have a different grouping for that. I have like the skill ceiling tier where we can figure it out. So this is just how easy it is to remember the rules. Whereas I'm thinking that the Host of Ascension, it's relatively simple because you have... Maybe I should put it there. No, I'll leave it there. I'll leave it there until we can pick the best in group. It's relatively simple in that if you know how Deep Strike works, then you'll be alright. Because this is the detachment that works all... It's the Deep Strike detachment. You come from reserves, you get better shots. The bit I even struggle with is...
Felix just tipped 3. Thank you for all the great tips.
Oh, thank you, Felix. That is still not coming in the right place. Oh, it's the wrong one. Moved the wrong one. Now it's in front. Now it's where it should be. Yeah, because there's the top bar and there's the bottom bar. But thank you, Felix. Thank you. Yeah, the Host of Ascension... Ooh, yeah, When you have the neophytes come from reserve and you have to remember, okay, I have sustained hits. Okay, I have a Primus in the unit, so I re-roll all shots. Okay, that Primus has a special rule from an enhancement that gives me lethal hits as well as sustained hits. I need to remember how lethal hits and sustained hits work. Then, I have a stratagem that gives me lethal hits and sustained hits on a 5+. I usually forget the re-roll hit rolls bit when there's all of that going on. So when you got... So there's the peak, I guess, of how much I can remember. 4 things and then it stops working in my brain. You can do the same with demo charges. Have a character, full rerolls to hit, sustained hits, lethal hits. And then make a thing go boom, but probably infantry, heavy infantry, because it's damage 2 and is strength 9. So we're not just blowing away tanks anymore, which is good. It was a tedious kind of thing. Of, yep, you're playing Genestealer Cult. How many demo charges have you got? Oh, 15? That doesn't seem enough demo charges. So now we get different tactics happening. That's good. Easy to learn the rules. Outlander Claw is not that difficult. It's incredibly simple, really. As long as you know how sticky objectives work, and you know to use the rules commentary version of sticky objectives, not the detachment rule version of sticky objectives, then you'll be alright. You'll be fine. It's just, these are my objectives. This is easy to learn rather than how to play best, because I know that can get very, high level play. But it's simple, and if you're playing small games, which you really should be when you're wanting to learn, it performs much better. Get truck on objective. Get people out onto objective. That is your objective. You score points, you're closer to winning the game. That may just be best in group. I may be wanting to put that there. The Brood Brothers Auxilia, I think it's okay. I mean, there's no great stratagems, so you're not really figuring out, how do I use stratagems? Actually, because of that, it could be very good. There's one stratagem you're going to be using a lot, and that's the one that gives you reroll wound rolls of 1 when you have an Astra Militarum and a Genestealer Cult unit shoot at the same target. Otherwise, there's not a lot going on. But yeah, +1 to hit, remembering to shoot with the Genestealer Cult second and have the Astra Militarum unit shoot first, and also having it so you're within 18, and also having it so you fire all of your same shots. Yeah, I think it's okay. And you need to be able to use the basics of it, otherwise it doesn't function. I mean, it will still function as you have a lot of tanks. If you have the tanks, you have a lot of bodies. I suppose it's a simple way to learn it. I wouldn't put it in bad. It's definitely not bad. It's an okay place to be. Then there's the Biosanctic Brood Surge, and I think I'm just going to put that in bad. The stratagems have so many words on them. Like, oh yes, you can consolidate, but as long as it's towards the closest enemy and only by unit models, not for the unit as a whole. And then there's other ones where it's like, yeah, you can get battle shock tests and make enemies -1 to shoot you, but you don't get stealth, and it only works if you're in 9 and only on the unit that you applied it to, who caused the enemy units to take battle shock. No, too many words. Far too many words. Some of it's okay, like some of the enhancements I can get behind. Extra damage on the Patriarch's Claw, I understand that. Biosanctic has the fewest good stratagems. You only use 2 of them regularly. I'm assuming that's the Consolidate and the Impact against vehicles. Depends how many vehicles your enemy has. Because you can get +1 to wound against enemy vehicles. But if your enemy doesn't have any vehicles, you already killed them, that's going down. Then again, the have a character cause mortal wound damage when they die. I can see that one being used. So maybe 3 stratagems? I'm kind of tempted to just quickly look at... I can do it quicker online. Because Warpedia exists. Oh no, wait, that isn't updated with Genestealer Cult. Warpedia doesn't exist for us yet. They'll get to it. Extra charge distance is definitely nice from like a detachment rule point of view. There's the Codex. Yeah, Evasive Vanguard I'm not using to get like a pure strain Genestealer Cult marker again. Yeah, Stimulated Bio Surge can be nice for the one time you're coming from Deep Strike and charging multiple things, but not Biohorror Revelation to cause like panic, but only -1 to hit, but it's not really stealth. Yeah, no, that's staying in the bad. So now we just need to pick a best in group. Which one is the easiest to learn? Now, we're not doing easiest to collect or easiest to buy, just easiest to learn. So, from remembering the rules, I think it's going to be that. I think that's going to be how it ends up. The Outlander Claw is the easiest one to learn. It has very little special things happening. You know that your stratagems are focused around a few key units, and they're very simple to understand. You get an invulnerable save. Your unit takes -1 damage from, like, the damage of all your attacks. Yeah, people can understand that and get behind that. That works. Alright, Battle Sister time. Take these off. Okay. I saw Hallowed Martyrs come up as an easy to learn. Let's have a quick look at Hallowed Martyrs again. They haven't changed that much since the index. Detachment, yep, Hallowed Martyrs, Army of Faith. I mean, if you can understand all of the words that go into the generating miracle dice and spending miracle dice and the times you can spend miracle dice and what an act of faith is, compared to just discarding miracle dice and spending miracle dice, you don't have to do too badly on the detachments. +1 to hit when you're below starting strength, +1 to ballooned if you're also below half strength. I mean, I can see people get tripped up and think it's just one or the other. Divine Intervention to bring back characters within a unit. You have to know how it works where you do get your model back inside the unit. Yeah, I'll put it there for the moment while we're talking about it so people can see which one we're talking about. Automatic Deadly Demise, that's understandable. Suffering and Sacrifice can get a bit confusing with the wording because they've changed the wording within FAQ compared to how it was in the Codex. It's more like how it was in the Index. So each model, if they can attack the one that's suffering and sacrificing themselves, that model has to go with that. The unit as a whole is still free to split its attacks with like the models in range of other units. Yeah, I think I'm going to go with okay, because there's a few things where that can work really well, but you have to understand what the stratagem even means. The enhancements are all pretty simple. It's just remembering how it works to be below starting strength and how it works to be below half strength. Now, how difficult is the Penitent Host? As a new player, it made more sense to me to remember. Okay. Okay, yeah. I can see that. The Penitent Host... I'll put it there. Thinking of like brand new players. Yeah. If it's there for the moment, so the Penitent Host. Ah, yes. We have the easily confused part of what is a Penitent model and what is a Penitent unit. Because the detachment rule applies to Penitent models, not to Penitent units. So if you use the one really confusing enhancement, the Catechism of Divine Penitence, so that one of your characters gets the Penitent keyword and can join Repentia. If you add it to Zephyrim, that is a Penitent unit, but the Zephyrim models are not Penitent models, so they won't get the extra 3-inch movement from your Flying Canoness. Only the Flying Canoness will get that. Yeah, I see there's... people are going to get tripped up on that so much. And then when it comes to the different stratagems and enhancements, it's fine. Devout Fanaticism, knowing when you use that. So that's the ability to get a reactive move. But it's after you've been selected as the target of an attack, not after the enemy has fired any bullets. Then you get to move D6 and can end in engagement range. Just from having someone point a gun at you, you charge them. That's nasty. But you're not going to quite figure out how it has to be used. Yeah, I'll leave it in okay. I'm thinking the Army of Faith is going to be the easiest one to learn. Put it in good, because we are not deciding, you know, best of grouping at the moment. Thinking the Penitent Host, I'm just thinking easy to learn the rules. So, yeah, you got your match play. Oh, it was worse in 9th edition. So much worse in 9th edition. Yeah, we've got the match play rules, you got your army rules, your detachment rules, your stratagem rules. Then you've got whatever card rules you're playing for, like, is it the Pariah Nexus mission deck? Is it Crusade? What are you doing there? Then all the recent updates. And all of that is in a not easy to find format. So I've had games where I'm like, yeah, there's this rule. I know there's this rule. I can't find the rule, but it's in one of these documents somewhere. You don't get the detachment with Army of Faith. Should you put a Zephyrim squad back with 2 X's to give them both +1 AP? I'm looking at that as a tactic. When I play more with Army of Faith, I'll see if it actually works. I think it's one of those where Exorcist with a jump unit is really good on paper, but in practice, I don't think it's going to hold up. Yeah. But Exorcists, generally, it's pretty simple to do. Because you get 2 acts of faith, you can just have max damage from your missiles. All of the army rule there, the detachment rule, the army rule is using acts of faith. The detachment rule gives you more acts of faith. The enhancements give you more miracle dice. The stratagems give you more miracle dice. I think the only bit you can trip up on is when you can trigger some of the stratagems. So if a unit within 3 inches of a jump pack unit uses it gets shot, you can use Shield of Faith or Light of the Emperor. Not Light of the Emperor. Blinding Radiance to cause the enemies to be -1 to hit. Knowing that you can trigger that on a jump pack unit instead may be a little bit difficult for people to figure out. But generally, I think this is a very simple one.
Schemy Mango just tipped 3.
Thank you, Schemy Mango. And I've You can see I've got the overlay to work there. Wonderful. If you want to add like comments and questions in with your tip money, you absolutely can, and then I will answer your question next. Or appreciate your comment. Either way. Either way. Right, which one have we got left? Yeah, the Bringers of Flame detachment. Is this one easy? Knowing that you have an extra strength on all of your weapons, but only within 12 inches, and assault, that's not too difficult. There's nothing particularly hard about the enhancements. They all work as you'd think they should. Shield of Aversion is simple. Cleansing Flames is simple. Righteous Blows. Yeah, these are all actually incredibly simple. I think we have a winner. So unless anyone's going to dispute me, I think the Bringers of the Flame is the easiest to learn. Not necessarily the best, not necessarily the easiest to collect, but the easiest one to learn. Unless someone's going to say, no, I definitely think that Hallowed Martyrs is easier or Army of Faith is easier. I think that's where I'm going to put it. I'm seeing no objections, so we'll go with that. Okay, next group. I need to go... second one is easy to buy. Haha. That's going to be a bit different. I think I'll switch back to Genestealer Cult for this one. Just so the mind keeps turning. Yeah, easy to buy is... Okay, yeah, Genestealer Cult and easy to buy. We're getting kind of difficult there. So, bad? No, not bad. They're probably okay, maybe even good. The Outrider Claw. The Outrider Claw is basically what you get in the new Combat Patrol box. You get a Ridge Runner, you get 5 Adlan Bikers, you get 10 Metamorph / Acolytes, you get a Jackal Alphas. That's a great starting point for the Outrider Claw. Then you just add in a truck. There you go. There's your first 500 points. That can work. I can see that working. So we'll stick with them as good. Oh yeah, we'll do competitive stuff and like skill ceiling. That's one of the ones I've got listed. Right, so they're good. What's the mean velocity of an unladen vampire? It depends if it's a Transylvanian vampire or a British vampire bat. Then it's going to very much depend. You can do likes? You can like people's tip money. Oh, that's so cool. Okay. That's an interesting YouTube feature. I like it. I like it. Right. Ooh. What about the Xeno Creed? It has some neophytes. And some of its stratagems and abilities work quite well with neophytes, but it's not neophyte focused. Neophytes are the easiest ones to get. We don't have the Hachette Combat Patrol magazine out yet, at least not with Genestealer Cult bits. We haven't got the old Combat Patrol, it's just sold out. You need a lot of bodies. So many bodies. If you have the core of the army and then others, you're not doing too badly. But you need Metamorphs, you need Acolytes, you need some Neophytes, and then all of the other supporting elements. And it's a horde. In an already horde faction. Yeah, that's where we're going to put them in the bad. Definitely the bad. Whereas Xeno Creed is bad, but the Host of the Ascension, easy to buy is like anything. You're going to want Ridge Runners. You can have Metamorphs. Metamorphs work okay in it, because you've got Hand Flamers coming from reserve. Oh no, you want lethal hits, sustained hits. Ooh, not as good, not as good. Neophytes are pretty simple to get. Maybe I'll drop it down to okay. It works with anything. Pretty much anything is your Host of Ascension army. It's your catch-all, your take-all, your it'll be fine kind of detachment. If you stick something in there, it'll work. Oh, it'll work pretty well. Pretty well. Naturally, you want lots of Neophytes. I'm trying to think what else I've recommended in the past. Ridge Runners. You'll want some Ridge Runners. You can get them in the Combat Patrol box. Combat Patrol box isn't a bad starting place for the Host of Ascension. Just then after that, get lots of neophytes, and now you're starting to cook. I never know if I'm using the term starting to cook in the internet phase, like, correctly. It sounds like I'm using it right. No one's going to say, let him cook, let him cook. Because I don't know if it means you're making a mistake and no one's going to stop you, or shut up a minute, someone's talking and I want to see what they have to say. Doesn't matter. The audience I've got are in their 30s and 40s anyway, so you're not going to know. Yes, good. 2 old combat patrols. Whoa. Yeah, okay. Yeah, if you can get the old Genestealer Cult combat patrol, worth getting. Even resale price is in the 120s. That music is getting a little bit loud. That's a bit better. Right, so... That's fine. Okay. Other ones are, how good is it? Easy to buy. They should be okay. Getting the Brood Brothers Auxilia. You can buy the Imperial Guard Combat Patrol. That will give you plenty of models. You could use them as neophytes instead of Cadians, because you probably don't want Cadians in the current Genestealer Cult army, because neophytes do the same things, plus get all of the Genestealer Cult bonus. But in the Brood Brothers Auxilia, there are stratagems for your Imperial Guard units. You get 1 Sentinel, you get Artillery. Artillery's not bad. It gives you 2 places to exploit, like, I've got half an army and another half an army, I can smush them together and make it work. If you've got discount boxes for Imperial Guard, this works. If you've got discount boxes for Genestealer Cult, that also works. And you can take quite a variety of Genestealer Cult units. It's just pairing them up with an Imperial Guard counterpart. Yeah, that can be okay. I think they're a good one in terms of, like, being easy to buy. Viceroy Caleb, thank you. Played against Genestealer Cult Sunday using Mono Corn. Opponent had me locked in the deployment zone and all you could do was fight against the Pure Strain Assault. Yeah, that is the Genestealer Cult tactic at the moment. It's the one I've seen, it's the one I've been using. It works pretty well. If you can keep the enemy held in their deployment zone using, well, let's see, Jackal Bikers in this detachment, or Jackal Bikers and Genestealers in this detachment, or Pure Strains in this detachment, or more Pure Strains in this detachment, or whatever's infiltrating in this detachment, then you can just hold the enemy there, you score the points, and then somewhere the game will end and you might have some units left alive, but you'll have the most victory points. Yeah. So Brood Brothers Auxiliary is good. You can just get 2 Bane Blades and there you go. There's your 1,000 points of Brood Brothers Auxilia. I think it's a good one. Right, Biosanctic Brood Surge. I think we're good. What did you miss? You missed the rankings on easy to learn and remember to rules. And now we're doing the second one, which is easy to buy for the detachments. We're just doing Genestealer Cult first. We'll do Sisters next. So, I think the Biosanctic Brood Surge is easy to buy. Maybe they're the best. There is the big Biosanctic Brood Surge box. That was like the starter army, which gave you Aberrants, Truck, and loads of Genestealers. Pure Strain Genestealers are the core of that list. I keep looking at it and I think, I maybe want 30 Genestealers. At least 25 Genestealers. Well, at least 15 Genestealers if I'm doing like 1,000 points. Then again, the list I have written here, because I'm going to try them next. Biosanctic Brood Surge. It's still missing some bits. But 1,000 points, I only have 15 Pure Strains. Might need more Pure Strains. A bit longer in the pot. More Pure Strains, maybe. So lots of Pure Strains. Pure Strain Genestealers are really easy to get. You can get them secondhand so cheaply, because anyone that's been playing Tyranids may not need as many Pure Strain Genestealers as they have. So they'll be giving you Pure Strain Genestealers. There's the old ones, the really plastic ones. One of the first plastic kits for 40k was Genestealers. I use a lot of the Genestealers from the very first Space Hulk. Or if you have the more recent Space Hulk, those Genestealers look really cool as well. Just put them on a, what are they on now? 32mm base, and there's your Genestealers. And you have like the new Tyranid Genestealers, which is also our Genestealers. Lot of Genestealers. Pure Strain Genestealers, easy to get. It's more of a monstery elite army, so you don't need as many models. It's good. So now I'm going to decide which one I put as best. Assuming you're okay with like my layout there. The Shadow Throne box is relatively cheap. I don't know if the Shadow Throne box is still being sold though. But that gave you 20 Neophytes, a Patriarch, a Primus, a Reductor Saboteur, and a Magos, and I don't think anything else. Not a great place to start, but it was an okay place. We want a pole. Okay. Easiest to buy, and I'll have 3 options. So, Biosanctic. It should randomize these, so there isn't like a top 1 bias. Outlander Claw and Auxilia. Alright, and then you can click the button to decide which one you want. Third party on, yeah, that makes sense. Bought half of it from a Custodes player, understandable. There's not as many, there's not as many, there's not as many Genestealer Cult players as Custodes players. I left my jaw open too long and that, and it locked. Weird. Never mind. Got the model back and fixed and working. Okay. Now I'm just waiting for this to reload. Come on, little machine. Come on, little machine. It'll get there. Okay, Biosanctic Brood Surge. I'll agree with that. Biosanctic Brood Surge, easiest one to buy. No problem. Where do you want to buy second-hand things from? Well, if you're in Canada, then one of my affiliates in the description, where are they? Fenris Workshop. They have a second-hand area, so you can get second-hand things from there. Otherwise, if you're in a gaming group, there's often trades and things going on. Someone recently brought in like just piles of boxes of sprues, which I can almost make a dreadnought from. If I have like the back of a body, I have a dreadnought just for free. Or you can go for places like, I don't know if Amazon has any secondhand things. Maybe. eBay tends to be a pretty good place. You just got to do it in like the off-meta season when you're buying particular things. Yeah, or shortly after a change in the meta. But we'll see. We'll see. Yeah. eBay is not necessarily the best, but eBay can work. How are we feeling about the Brain Lady included in the Brood Surge Battle Force? It's not great. Cole, welcome to the Von Carmian's Elite. Welcome. Yeah, she's way too expensive at 80 points. Should be far less, should have better abilities, but so should the Magos. So should the Patriarch. They don't know how to do Psychic with Genestealer Cult at the moment. Really sad. Right, let's clear the board and do the Battle Sisters. Don't be slow. There we go. Okay. So, easiest to buy. Well, that's definitely good because as soon as you have some Rhinos and Immolators and Battle Sisters, you're pretty good. Any of the like start collecting boxes, the Boarding Patrol, the new Combat Patrol, that gives you a core for Bringers of the Flame because it's Battle Sisters. Although then you have the Celestian Sacrosancts. Yeah, they are not good in Bringers of the Flame, not at all. But Battle Sisters, and then you add in Rhinos, you can get them secondhand. You can take them from other factions. If you find a cheap Space Marine Rhino, great. Just stick a Fleur-de-Lis somewhere on it, and there you go. If you like the 30k ones, there you go. It's another Rhino. Rhinos are what you want in this detachment. Rhinos are pretty cheap. Immolators as well, but I found that if you have a turret of something, or you have just two sisters with multi-melters and you stand them on top of a rhino, it's a pretty convincing immolator. I'm sure the detachment can work without having all of the transports, but the transports are a pretty key part of it since 3 of the stratagems are all about the transports. But it's good. It works. Hallowed Martyrs might be the best. We'll put it there for now. It's got everything. The detachment rule works with every unit. It works best on things like, well, units where you have a lot of models, so not Retributors, but on Battle Sisters, on Dominions, on tanks especially. It's so easy for a tank to lose like 1 wound. And then, there you go. You now get +1 to hit with your tank. You're hitting on 2s with a Castigator, or an Exorcist, or even a Rhino. The Hunter-Killer Missile already hits on a 2+, so you're missing with that every time regardless, but never mind. Never mind. Yeah, there's no massively cheap way, but the easiest way to get them. I think that can work. I know we have the Army of Faith box for the Army of Faith. Seraphim are pretty easy to get. They were in the Combat Patrol. They were in the old Combat Patrol, so you can get monopose ones, and they were in the Imperium magazine. They were just in a weird, you get them in sets of 2 and 3 in the Imperium magazine. But jump pack units, they're pretty easy to get. They're only in that Army of Faith. I'll leave them as okay. They're not necessarily the only way you have to play it, though. You will want jump pack units, but you will want jump pack units in the Bringers of Flame detachment. And probably you'll want some Seraphim in your Hallowed Martyrs detachment. It's good. It's going to be good. I think I'm just going to put the Pension Host down there, though. Yeah. Games Workshop doesn't want you to know this, but there are rhinos at game stores. You can just take them home. You can't just take the rhinos home. Though you used to get 3 rhinos for £10, like back in, was it Rogue Trader era, 2nd edition? It was absurdly cheap, and so many of those rhinos are still around. Rhinos being around for a long time, like the Genestealers, the Pure Strain Genestealers, means they're easy to pick up. But you've got jump pack units. All of the rest of your army works with Army of Faith. Battle Sisters especially. Dialogus, easy to get, easy to kit bash. Yeah, it's good. Penitent Host, you need to go so hard on the Penitent units. The Combat Patrol give you 3 Arco-Flagellants. You're going to want units of 10. The new Combat Patrol does have 1 unit of 10 Arco-Flagellants. No Priest, no Repentia. Yeah. Will I upload a video on this? Probably not a specialized video just on this, because I think this live stream will be like the whole video in itself. You can rewatch it because, unlike with Twitch, it's automatically saved as a video on YouTube. Rhinos are free. Remember in like 9th edition when Space Marine Rhinos were 0 points as long as you had a demi company? Yeah. Yeah. I'll be looking more into each detachment by itself in future videos anyway, once I found more cool tricks and things. That'll be good. I just need a lot more experience with all of them before I start having a go at them. I could have a go at like 1 or 2 of them. No, I still want more spins with some of the detachments. Yeah. Yeah. Right, so Old Combat Patrol was nice at a double or triple on? Yeah, I don't know. I don't know. When you have 3 of the same monopose Canoness and 15 Seraphim and no special weapons, I don't think it's as good. Army of Faith, especially if you're looking for longevity. Yeah, that's probably the way to do it. That's a good way of thinking of it. I haven't really put the detachment that's going to last the longest, because we don't know what 11th edition is going to be like. But Penitent Host, you need your Penitent Engines. You got 1 in the old Combat Patrol box, but you're going to want more. And Mortifiers, yeah, you could just claim it's a Mortifier, but it's bad. I'm going to go bad. So we're currently on number 2, easy to buy, and we're finishing off with the Battle Sisters. So we'll throw out another poll. Easy to buy. I'm assuming no one's going to fight me on the Penitent Host. So we've got Faith, we've got Fire, and we've got Martyr. Which one do you think is the easiest one to buy to get going? I mean, thinking like combat units. Celestian Sacrosanct do come in the starter box. They're good in the Hallowed Martyrs and not in the other detachments so much. Army of Faith just works for everything. It works for, if you've got like random damage on anything, like multi-melters, like exorcists, it works. If you have a Hospitaller, a Palatine, a Dialogus, it works for all of them. This is all over the place. It's fascinating. Keeps moving. More and more votes come in. This is how fun it was just sitting around until like 2 AM watching the UK general election. Just, oh, there's more votes. Oh, more votes are being counted. People were thrilled by that and staying up overnight and having parties. I don't know, you can do a watch party of, well, we've counted these numbers and this number is this number and now we're going to announce the number so you can put it into a larger number. Actually, I suppose like, you know, 40k meta watch. Which armies are doing well? Which armies are ranked in certain places? Which armies and detachments are not being taken as much? Yeah. Army of Faith. Yeah, I mean, to have more Dialoguses. And all those units that don't need the high ones. I will be doing 1,000 points Bringers of Flame list. I'll be doing at least 2 of them. I'm thinking I might do that one next. Although I've been playing the Genestealer Cult a lot more recently than the Battle Sisters because the Genestealer Cult need more help. But it'll happen. It'll definitely happen. It's tied between Bringers of Flame and the Army of Faith. Ah, right. I'm going to put the Army of Faith up there then. It is inconclusive. It is a hung poll. But there we go. What type of armies do the Battle Sisters struggle the most with? I have done a video before on what's fun for the Adepta Sororitas to play against. I think that's the title. And it's like, Orcs are hard, unless you're in the Bringers of Flame detachment. Knights are a pain, unless you have, because we like really do lack anti-tank. But generally hordes are alright, because lots of Hormigans coming at you, we can kill hordes pretty well. However, they can't kill us so well, because we have a 3+ save. Can't do guard tanks? Yeah. We struggle with the guard tanks. Unless you're in the Bringers of Flame detachment. Then you get the bonus strength. Then it's not so bad. Not so bad. Always nice to hear the adding of sugar to tea. I just have a pot here. It keeps going through the live stream. Yeah. I don't think the Death Watch are going to get any immediate love. I don't think there's any like, oh yeah, we're going to pivot hard and go into Death Watch. Because I know there was a question about Death Watch before I didn't get to. I don't think Death Watch are going to get anything. It's just going to be either a revamping of the kill team system or basically a killing of the army until it's just a few specialized units that are for Space Marines or allies. Yeah. Knights can be an absolute pain, even with lethal hits. Because they still have a really good armor save. So you've got to combine it with other things. Army of Faith is best for bringing out Knights? Maybe. Maybe, because then we have the random damage, so you do get through, you cause as much damage as possible. And we have the -1 AP stratagem. So with lethal hits, you're wounding on 6s. With AP -1, it can be enough to cause a few wounds. I've almost taken down a knight just by having like neophytes fire at them with lethal hits and sustained hits. It was a lot of neophytes. It was like 40 neophytes. But I got most of the way there. Yeah. Alright, next one. What's on the card? Next one on the card is easy to paint and build. Alright, do we want to switch it up as well? Do we want to do Battle Sisters again? Whoop. That poll. And while you're distracted filling out that, I can type my next words. Paint and build. Okay. That's what we're on. Sisters. We're going straight back into sisters? Okay. Yeah, it's 2-1. And we did Genestealer Cult first for the other two. So we'll do sisters for easy to paint and build. Haha! Yeah! Maybe I should just go like this. Because, my goodness. It's about design philosophy. The Genestealer Cult units, most of them, came when it was a design philosophy of you make this easy for people to build them. Now they have a design philosophy of put as many bits on the sprue as possible and make it easy for the people who cut it out of like the 3D file to put them onto the sprue. So you get some weird mismatched bits. If you've ever tried to build Paragon warsuits, they are an absolute pain. Building regular battle sisters is awful because it's like 11 or 12 bits to make one battle sister. Compare that to Genestealer Cult, where you can go, okay, there's a torso, there's some legs. Oh, they fit together. How crazy. I can stick whatever arms on I want in whatever pose I want and it'll work. But I can at least bump it up for tanks are easy to paint. If you have a spray can or an airbrush, that works. They're mostly tank focused. Seraphim and all of the Army of Faith stuff that's like, yeah, this flies around, that's staying at the bottom. Got the flying stance to consider. You have the many parts for the Seraphim and Zephyrim. Their arms don't look right. The battle system models are so annoying for me. I prefer the metal ones. I know it's only one pose, I know they're a bit smaller, but the metal ones were so nice. And the good bits of the new battle sisters in plastic, they take homages from the old battle sisters. So like the battle sister with the grenade, the throwing grenade. Yeah, that's right there from, you can build that out of plastic bits to make it look like an old battle sister that's metal. Yeah. That's a pain. Arcoflagellants, they're not as bad. Repentia are not as bad, and they're definitely easy to paint. The Mortifiers and Penitent Engine will stay good for now. They're smaller than I thought they were. When the first time I saw one on the table, I was like, oh, wow, yeah, I was thinking it would be bigger. It's like twice the height of a battle sister, if that. So there's not as much to paint and make on them as you'd think. If you're painting flesh, that is so quick. So the Arcoflagellants, the Repentia are really quick to paint. So the ease of painting, yeah, it's all there. Hallowed Martyrs. I don't think there's anything particularly special about Hallowed Martyrs. Yeah, you'll want tanks, you'll want tanks, yeah. That can go there. I think that's probably it's gonna end up. Oh yeah, Exorcists can be a pain to build. You have to do it in sub-assemblies and different sections. And then you've got the stained glass window of the immolated tank. Oh, maybe I should drop the tanks down a bit. But there's right, yeah. All of the sister stuff. There we go. We've established the best in group very easily from all of the sisters units that are hard to paint, hard to build. Okay. Well, that's unfortunate. Hopefully Games Workshop changes up their design philosophy again and goes back to like the Genestealer Cult Acolyte version of you put the legs and the body together, you add whatever arms you want. Here's 15 sets of arms for a unit of 5. Go crazy. Have fun. It builds 3 different units now. And there. Okay. Genestealer Cult. Oh yeah, at least they're not admech, but they're not far off, and you still need to make a lot of them. Category below bad. We'll just stick with bad for now. How do you go about doing the immolate to stained glass? If you put enough water on your brush that it goes into like the recesses of the stained glass bit, you can do like a thin wash around the edge and it fades slightly into the center. So almost a wash, but not quite a wash. And then you get a stained glass-ish look for each of them. If you put it on just as paint, it won't look right. But doing it thin, yeah, that works. All right. Easy to paint and easy to build. Well, we have tanks. Tanks are easy to paint. You can just spray them one color. Maybe you can add some decals if you really want. Or transfers. They still have transfer sheets. Yeah, there's still transfer sheets come in these different units. That can work. That's pretty easy. It's a lot of models, but then which part of Genestealer Cult is not a lot of models? Have you ever had to do the Jackal Bikers? They're not too bad. They take a bit of time if you want to get all the detail, but as long as you have the wheel and the guy right, they're pretty good, and you have a lot of vehicles. It's much more joyful to paint and build the Genestealer Cult truck, the Rock Grinder, the Ridge Runner. They're all so much nicer. It can take a little bit to like force it in, but if you push them right, they do almost clip together. It's satisfying. It's nice. Okay. Painting the Biosanctic Brood Surge. So easy to paint. Aberrants are one of the easiest ones to paint and build. Because you can't really build them wrong. They're aberrants, they're mutants. That's the whole thing. So put the arms on backwards and it still looks right. Put a head on that isn't the head it's meant to be. It still looks right. It's a lot of flesh, so it's easy and quick to paint. I think I did my aberrants in like an hour for 5 of them. It's so simple. We still good? The last message I see is, ooh, I don't know if that's a controversial thing. Just type in chat if you're still there and alive. Chat. Chat, are you there? Chat, don't leave me hanging. Okay, we have people in chat. That's good. That's good. This was yet another opportunity to use the emojis. I do enjoy the emojis. Hello, I'm glad people are here. Good. Good. So yeah, aberrants, easy to paint. Pure Strain Genestealers, as long as you have 2 different colors for like the carapace bits and the inner bits, it works. So that's a pretty good one as well. Patriarch's pretty. That's as big as you get really for Genestealer Cult. There's no, oh, I need to paint this massive monster and it's going to take ages and it has loads of intricate bits the way that Tyranids do. Patriarch's as big as we go. Then we have the others, like the Host of Ascension. Is that bad or not? You can do pretty much whatever you want with the units in the Host of Ascension. Pretty much. A lot of neophytes are coming your way. That's a lot of things to buy. It's a lot of bits to build. They're relatively simple to build. You just need to follow the instructions on which legs go with which bodies. But once you've done that, you can do the man thing of, I need not these instructions, I'll do it by eye. Which you can't do with any of the Battle Sister units. So I'll put them as okay. They are okay. Xenocreed is probably going in the same place. It's a lot more things to paint because we're going Horde mode. But at that point, I mean, batch painting happens. The armor isn't too bad. You can do black ribbing for the armor. You can do whatever color ribbing you want for the armor. Painting them in groups is pretty simple. I mean, it's not Space Marine simple, where it's just armor. Yeah. It is a Horde, though. And you'll want your Neophytes to look different enough to your Metamorphs and your Acolytes with mining weapons to look different to your Genestealer Cult. Acolytes with Hand Flamers and Demo Chargers. It's probably fine like that. So which one's the best and easiest to paint and build? I could do another poll. Or I can just say Biosanctic Brood Surge. I think I had some notes on this. I mean, Elite, I've got it down that Elite armies are easier to do, just generally. I mean, if you're doing Custodes, It's gold. Do you have the color gold? If not, do you have silver? There you go. You now have an army. Aberrants are expensive. There's not as many models needed, which is kind of rare for a Genestealer Cult army. And they're simple to paint. Yeah, and the pure strains, you can pick them up secondhand. So many of them. And there's quite a few. But they're simple enough to paint. There we go. Biosanctic Brood Surge is the best one if you just want to paint them quickly and easily. Right, so I've got several different lists left. The next one is skill ceiling for tournament play. So which one is going to do best at tournaments? And I'm thinking more grand tournaments rather than local tournaments. Skill ceiling. That's how you spell ceiling, isn't it? Yeah. Yeah, so it's got the skill ceiling. Oh yeah, using different base colors is really good to differentiate between acolytes, and metamorphs. Yeah, that can work. You may want to switch them around at some point in the future, but yeah. Oh yeah, the cherubs are not too hard to build. It's mostly 2 bits, you put them together, and then it goes on a base. But then you also have the cherubs flying above the Triumph of St. Catherine. Yeah, the cherubs can be a pain. They're one of the things that break most easily. Especially the Retributor cherubs. That breaks, yeah. Ah, well. Okay, so skill ceiling. I'm thinking for this, how well can you do at a tournament? If you're like a tournament player, if you want to go very elite, if you want to be like the best there ever was. Oh, that's a change in music just for that. Then, where are we going? We'll do Battle Sisters first. Okay. I need water. Right, Battle Sisters. Skill ceiling. Right, Bringers of Flame is doing really well at the moment. I know we had them as our... I think we had them as our easiest one to figure out. One of the easiest? No, we didn't. Never mind. Forget that. They're doing really well as a well-skilled tournament player. So, if you're just going into it casually, it's actually quite bad. Because the Bringers of Flame, if you don't know how to use your units and be careful with them, and go... Yes, you have assault. Yes, you have transports that can zoom and drop units off. You can sprint to the other side of the board with dominions on turn 1. But if you do that, and you don't know how to pull back, how to go around for a flank, how to hit the enemy units that are going to be threatening your infantry first, you don't do as well. And you might build your army list, like, not great for the detachment. You're going to want tanks, you're going to want dominions, you're going to want sisters. You don't want repentia. You don't want arcoflagellants. You don't want sacrosants. Anything combat related, you don't want. Maybe 3 arcoflagellants to hold an objective, but that's about the limit. Yeah, they're on about 60% win rate, and I'm thinking competitively, Bringers of Flame may be pulling the army up. It's got a lot of really good things, like the +1 strength. It matters so much. In the video I did yesterday where I was comparing the Dominions and the Battle Sisters, a lot of the strength of the Dominions comes from the Bringers of Flame detachment. If you can have strength 10 melter guns, if you can have strength 6 flamers, even strength 5 bolt guns, that's doing a lot of damage. That's wounding enemy infantry on 2+. It means you're wounding tanks on a 3+, which is not something we've had for all of 10th edition until now. It's good. Don't know if it's going to be the best. Right, Army of Faith. I'm still figuring out some of the kinks with it. The Exorcist, like, pod of, yeah, do Light of the Emperor, ignore modifiers, but not all modifiers, only some modifiers. It's a nice idea. As a skill ceiling, knowing when to use Miracle Dice, knowing how to generate more Miracle Dice, and having the right army built around all of the Miracle Dice. Ooh, that can get really good. That can get good. If you know how to use Miracle Dice the best, and tournament players really should, because it's the Army Special rule, it's the bit that you've been relying on the most for, like, the whole of the index. Because Hallowed Martyrs, it was okay to get +1, it wasn't necessarily the best to get +1. Army of Faith can go really strong if you know how to use it. How have I been doing with the Demonic Fusion Bringers of Flame? I don't think I've used the Demonic Fusion Bringers of Flame. Because she doesn't have she's a combat unit rather than a ranged unit. Army of Faith should be better. Having a lone operative, yeah, that's very good. Not a bad choice, really, but Bringers of Flame is not her ideal detachment. Something like the Army of Faith. Or Hallowed Martyrs. That works. Hallowed Martyrs, nah, maybe not so much. But Army of Faith, that'll work best for her. Jump pack, but she's not a jump pack unit. No, she's not a jump pack unit. She just moves kind of far. So I haven't used the Demonic Fusion Bringers of Flame, but you could. That'll work. She'll do the same thing as she always does, but there's no bonuses for combat and Bringers of Flame. Army of Faith is much more versatile on that. Because we go from... we've got Bringers of Flame. You have a combat stratagem for lethal hits. Okay, we already have Palatines, and they are very strong. Army of Faith, it's more versatile for a lot of units. It can make your units work how you want them to. Yes, you have all the benefits to jump pack units, and there's many ways to play them as a second line that jumps forward when it needs to. If you're going for combat, you have Divine Guidance to get armor penetration, so you can make your Arco-Flagellants work. Faith and Fury is another stratagem that gives you Lance. That's just +1 to wound. And you get Miracle Dice. I think they could be the best. It depends how we go for, like, the points changes on different units. If there's a bit of a hit to Dominions, Army of Faith will be the way to go. I know that some people competitively have already been saying... was it Mr. Klodner? I think it was. Who has won Sisters tournaments before. He doesn't like the Bringers of Flame detachment style for him. It doesn't suit his way of playing. So Army of Faith will suit him better. I'm thinking Army of Faith for myself because it is very versatile for all of the units that I have. Isn't having 2 uses of Miracle Dice a good tutorial in using the Army rule? It very much is. And if I were to look back in the live stream, I could see where we put it. Easy to learn. And we decided that it was best, not the best, somewhere around the best. Oh, we said Bringers of Flame was the easiest one to learn. It happened so long ago. I was so young then. Yeah, I like the Army of Faith. I can see me doing well with the Army of Faith. And it gives you more Miracle Dice to make the Army rule work. That's important. And the good players know how to use the Army of Faith. I'm leaving it there for the moment. Yeah, actions are harder in Pariah Nexus. That might be a bit of a switch. Because advancing and being able to complete actions is great for the Leviathan mission deck. Not going to be as much in the Pariah Nexus mission deck. Which is the new way to play competitively. Oh yeah, Ethereal Stone is useful for actions, definitely. So is having 3 Arco-Flagellants, a Dialogus by themselves. Whatever's cheap, that'll work. If you're using Legends units, the Crusaders and the Death Cult Assassins are still amazing at doing it. Okay. Skill ceiling. Have we reached the skill ceiling for Hallowed Martyrs? Maybe we have. Which was like 55% at its best. I think the numbers are already bearing out that Hallowed Martyrs is not the top of it, but having things like Divine Intervention to just bring back a really cool character, that's great. Spirit of the Martyr to fight on death. If you mess up, and you will mess up at some point in a tournament game, and be like, oh yeah, I left my Repentia exposed. Now they can still fight. And it works every time. It just costs 2 command points to do it. Righteous Vengeance is a powerful stratagem. That gives you reroll hit rolls all the time. And if you're below half strength, you also reroll wound rolls. That can be powerful on some units. I don't know how many Zephyrim units people are taking competitively. They can work really well in so many detachments. But it's like a really expensive model that might not get to hit. Toughness 3, 1 wound. Whereas Seraphim, you drop them down, they immediately shoot. Oh, thinking about this competitively is so much harder. Okay, I think we're going to say they're okay. Hallowed Martyrs is okay. It can win tournaments. It has won tournaments in the past. But, yeah, I'll go with that. I'll go with that for now. Now, the Penitent Host. Your potential, your skill ceiling is very much limited to what you can do with the Penitent Host units. The ones with the Penitent keyword. They're always there in all of the different detachments. They don't disappear for anyone else. But you can only use them with Penitent models. And the wording on the detachment rule is currently very restrictive. It doesn't say, like it does with the Gladius Task Force, at the start of the battle round, you can pick one of these things to be active. It says, at the start of the battle round, select one of the vows. That's active. You can't select them again. So rules as written, which we don't know is rules intended or not, you have to use each of them in each of the battle rounds until the end of battle round 3. Then you get nothing. Knowing when to use them, that can be difficult. That can definitely have a high skill ceiling. But we're seeing a lot of put Palatine with Repentia, it goes smash. But you've only got one of those units that can do that. And that's simple to understand. I'm not seeing, like, where the amazing things are. Yeah, Devout Fanaticism, that's the strategy. Yeah, that's where you can move into combat with an enemy when they point their guns at you. Yeah, Passion of the Penitent to get a 5+ critical hit is great when you've got lethal hits or sustained hits. It's a good detachment. It's going to get expensive. Because if you need your Repentia to get there, they're either coming on from reserves or they're going in a Rhino. That's an extra 75 points. It's using Miracle Dice to get the charge off, so you use a 6. And the Penitent units can be good in other detachments. Yeah. Yeah, nothing past round 3. They seem very railroad in how you play them. I think you're right. Yes, there is... I'll not put them in bad. There's definitely things you can do there. I don't think any detachment in either army is bad. But for the skill ceiling, there's a couple of tricks, and that's about it. I haven't got the models myself to play that far into Penitent Host. I'll have to have a go with, like, proxying models. A lot of it will come down to how good the other Battle Sister units are. Can you use Novitiates as a buffer before your Repentia get in there? Can you use other units as a buffer? But at that point, you can still have the Repentia coming in hard from reserve or from a Rhino in any of the other detachments. I just wouldn't recommend them in the Bringers of Flame detachment. But Army of Faith, Hallowed Martyrs, especially Hallowed Martyrs. Oh, you lost 2 from Overwatch? Great. Now I hit on a 3+ with my massive Eviscerators. Yeah. Okay, now we've got to pick a best in group. I'm thinking it's Army of Faith. I don't think anyone's argued so far that Hallowed Martyrs is the best one. So I'll just put it as a poll between... Bringers of Flame and Army of Faith. Now, this isn't where you think you would do best with them, because I know that even that's a whole separate thing. The personal preference of your detachment may be totally different to any of the ones I put in top so far. This is just where the skill ceiling is for the best players. The best Adepta Sororitas players. I know that people were not playing Hallowed Martyrs as much competitively because people wanted to see what the other stratagems and detachments could do. So pivoting away from Hallowed Martyrs happened in tournaments. Hallowed Martyr is still really good. This is flip-flopping. Ooh. Very interesting. 50% each. We can't leave it at 50% each. Then Bringers of the Flame gets better. If you know how to do like unit trading, unit blocking, getting the right things in the right place, getting out of Genestealer Cult jail, that's a problem in Bringers of Flame, but it's not as much a problem in Army of Faith if you have a lot of units that can fly over the Genestealers. I had a horrible game against the Dread Talon, the Chaos Space Marine like Night Lords version. Lots of Raptors, Warp Talons, some cultists that were no, they weren't infiltrating, but they could just jump over my Genestealers right away. And there was a stratagem. For whatever I did, they had the counter. And all of the time, I was taking battle shock tests. I was failing a lot of battle shock tests. There was at least one turn when I had no units getting like any objectives. I scored about 25 points the whole game. It was a bad loss. Very bad loss. But that's because the Dread Talon was the perfect counter for me. Right. You've decided Bringers of Flame. Okay. I'll do it that way round because you've said that way round. For myself and where I think I can do the best, it'll be Army of Faith. As long as I remember I have Miracle Dice, it'll be fine. But I've been playing Sacred Rose for all of like 8th and 9th edition. Didn't matter what the other ones were. Now it's switched the other way. Oh my. Didn't matter what the other, like, oh yeah, Bloody Rose is the best, or, what was the other good one? Not Argent Shroud. They like being punched in the face. Not Hallowed Martyrs. Not, oh, Valorous Heart. The Valorous Heart. People were playing a lot of Valorous Heart. People were playing Bloody Rose. I wasn't. I was playing Sacred Rose and having 1 million Miracle Dice. So yeah, that's maybe my best. And the poll has ended on Army of Faith. Alright. So that's where your best skill ceiling is for the Battle Sisters. Let's do the skill ceiling for the Genestealer Cult. Let's see if I've got anything else written. No, nothing extra written. Alright. Clear the board. Genestealer Cult. I think the Host of Ascension kind of runs out of tricks when you can see what the tricks are. When we've been doing the tricks and it is a combos of stratagems and enhancements. You know to put Primuses with Neophytes and maybe with Acolytes with demo charges if you're still doing it that way. I'm thinking more Neophytes. You'll have to learn how to properly... Ah, yes. You can do some pretty good shenanigans with your different Neophytes. Coming from reserves 3 inches away isn't just for the demo charge Acolytes. It can also be for Neophytes, because I blocked 2 objectives, the 20 Neophytes, and I was controlling both of them because I was able to come in 3 inches away. Yeah. Thank you, Desfox. That's good that you were able to put aside your objective choice and go with the one that you thought was best for the skill ceiling. Yeah. Valorous Heart, Sacrosanct all day. Yeah. So that's a good one. You can definitely do very well with that. You still got your Pure Strains. You still got your Jackal Bikers. You can still do a lot. You can have your Ridge Runners come on from reserves. Yeah. Yeah. That can work. The Biosanctic Brood Surge, I think, is okay. You've got your Pure Strains up front. You've got your Aberrants. Some of them can be up front. You can get the charges off, but then what do you do after that? You're active in the combat phase. You haven't got a lot of shooting. All of the other detachments can go quite hard on shooting. The Biosanctic Brood Surge, well, we've got Acolytes with lethal hits in close combat because you're attached to Biophagus. You've got your Aberrants, they're close combat. You've got your Genestealers, no guns on these. They're just combat. The stratagems are difficult to use. You can get good with, like, consolidating 6 inches, but that relies on your enemy not knowing about it so much. Yeah. I think that's just going to be an okay one. You can charge, knowing what to charge is right, but it doesn't have the crazy combinations and shenanigans and all sorts after that. So it's okay. The Xeno Creed, I think, is very good. The more I've been using it, the more I'm finding out more and useful things for the Xeno Creed. Stuff like, remember that you can charge through a wall, and you're re-rolling all your charge rolls. Don't do it from Deep Strike, though. If you have a 9-inch charge and you re-roll it, it's like half a chance to succeed, but you'll find that you fail so many times. But just disembarking or getting out and moving your troops behind a wall near the middle of the board, and then waiting there. Let the enemy come to you, you don't get shot, you get to charge the enemy, whatever enemy you want. Metamorphs, I know that when I was talking last week, with Nexus Floof in that big like podcast collaboration I did, I'll have to find someone else for the coming week, or the week after. I've been enjoying doing them, so I'm going to do more of them. I'll have to end up in other people's channels as well. Yeah, that'll be fun. Just annoy them, and they can do the editing for several hours instead. Or we'll do it live. That works too. A lot of people like just doing collaborations live. Then you have to not say the wrong thing. Can you imagine doing a video live? That's crazy. Never mind. I remembered where I am. Doesn't matter. So... Where was I? Oh yeah, Xenocreed. Yes. When I was talking to Nexus Floof, he was saying, right, the threat of potentially getting a 6 on like the Metamorphs when you do your Brood Surge move is about as threatening as just knowing it's a 6. I played more games, and if you can be near an objective, the enemy shoots you with anything, they're on the objective. You're going to charge that unit that's on the objective because you positioned yourself so you're within 6 inches of the whole of the objective. Whether you're on the objective or not, you can get there. It's guaranteed. Because my opponent, they were Tau, they needed to shoot me off the objective. If they didn't entirely wipe out the unit, they knew that even though they were 6 inches away, they were going to get charged in their turn by the Metamorphs. Knowing that I had that 6-inch movement, auto pistol Metamorphs are great. I'm still mixing it up. Hand Flamer ones are also very good for a little bit of shooting. I just find Hand Flamers don't do that much, especially when you're most often playing against Space Marines. It's a lot of saves, potentially, but you'll find that after all of that, you've killed 1 or 2 Space Marines. Yeah. I have played maybe nothing with Biosanctic, one Host of Ascension game, doing okay. I'm, doing pretty well with Host of Ascension. Xenocreed in the next game, I think I'm winning like 3-1 on Xenocreed. No, it must be more than that because I played more games than that with Xenocreed. I went hard into Xenocreed because they looked cool. I wanted to see how much they could do. They can do a lot. Definitely do a lot. And they're more the detachment that suits my playstyle. Yeah. They could be very high. Still playing more Melee. Good. And it's pretty versatile as well. Because it works with a lot of different units. Like, the core of the army is well catered for. So they're both good. Right, the Brood Brothers Auxilia. Skill ceiling. You've got big tanks. You've got not great stratagems. You've got no obvious combos. You're just having to use the tanks to compensate for some of the weaknesses of the Genestealer Cult. You then have that compensated for, but does that make your power go zoom? I mean, I know that Astra Militarum players are playing the Brood Brothers Auxilia just to do like, we're Catachans, so we have the Catachan units, but we also have Neophytes that are doing stealthy things and popping up from Cult Ambush, like, surprise, the jungle comes alive with Catachans. You can hear the air quotes when I'm saying Catachans. Good. And you got tanks, you got Hellhounds. That works, but at that point, maybe you just want to be playing an Imperial Guard army. There's nothing that's like, oh yeah, this is a crazy broken combo between the two factions, because I think they've designed it that way. There's nothing special that's adding to like where your regular Imperial Guard were. And I know that for a lot of people, as Nexus Floof themselves said, if I'm playing the Auxilia, I would rather be playing all Genestealers because then I'm playing Genestealer Cult. If I'm playing the Auxilia, then I want to be playing all Imperial Guard because it works better and you have orders. More orders. More orders than just the Kazakin. So I think they're just an okay. They're not bad. There are tactics there. There are combos that work. You can have your Shadow Sword and have a lot of melee support to keep enemies away from your Shadow Sword. Not that you really need that, because I like just having heavy flamers. Charge me. I don't care. My big cannon will shoot something else other than what's right in front of me. My heavy flamers will deal with the enemy that's around me. Then we have the Outrider Claw. Now they're very defensive. And being able to survive with the units that need to survive, so that's the Jackals and the Transports, and they have high objective control, and they have sticky objectives, while all the rest of your army, your Neophytes, your Acolytes, Metamorphs, that are, you know, riding in the trucks, they can be still returning by Cult Ambush as normal, but you've got invulnerable saves, you've got stealth on your Jackal Bikers, you've got -1 damage on your tanks. They can stay alive, they have higher objective control. You can win the game by having the objectives. If it's a smaller game, because I know there are 1,000 point tournaments, you can stick to the objectives and keep the enemy back, and if you can do that, you do that with the Jackal Bikers. Otherwise, oh yeah, you can do it with Neophytes as a backup. And that'll be what you have, 10 Neophytes in a truck, and there's your units that are doing different actions. This can work really well like multiple small units. So can Xenocreed. Xenocreed can as well. But the bike detachment, that may be where the highest skill is. And you can still keep the enemy back and do Genestealer Jail with Pure Strain Genestealers and Jackal Bikers. It can work for all parts of the army. It's just Mechanized Genestealer Cult. And we know Mechanized Genestealer Cult can go quite well. Need more light. Like moonlight. Backlight. Still got the blackout curtains on. Which one's the best? Right. Where is the absolute skill ceiling? I'm pretty happy with where I placed them all. That looks right. So I guess I'll go for a poll. Best for competitive. Is it Host? Is it Xenocreed? Or is it Claw? I've gone all smug. Didn't want to go all smug. Right. Xenocreed is pretty good. I mean, I'm looking at Xenocreed and going, yeah, I can make that work. Host of Ascension, I can already make that work, and it works pretty well. There are extra tactics I'm figuring out, but I think for Host of Ascension, we've reached the skill ceiling, really. Because Host of Ascension is not that different from the Day of Ascension from the Index. Outrider gives the most skill expression. Yeah, it's one of the hardest way of playing. Is it going to be the best way of playing? There's different ways to build your list around it. Yeah. We're not bothered about getting the units, because tournament players always seem to be able to get the units they need. Looks pretty solidly to be Xenocreed. Claw's picking up a little bit. Right. Yeah. But Xenocreed is doing really badly in tournaments at the moment. It's got one of the lowest win rates of them all. Let me just see if there's any... if I can go deep into Goonhammer stats. Although they only have like 1 week, and that's easily skewed by like the 2 Genestealer Cult players that are on the go. Goonhammer stats. Genestealer Cult. I know a lot of people won't have been playing like Host of Ascension because it's so similar. Maybe they would. Maybe they'd be like, hey, yeah, this is similar. It works because it's familiar. I know it. Right. Haha. Yeah, we don't feature on the top level board, but never mind. Scoring by faction. There's the Genestealer Cult. Didn't go so well. I'm sure they used to have an easy way to just figure it out. Never mind. Yeah. There's so many numbers there, it's just so hard to figure out. Right, yeah, I think we're all still figuring out the Codex. It's so fresh. We've had it for, what, a month? If that? It must be more than a month. 6 weeks? Something like that. So that's enough for, like, one big tournament event. People are still going to be figuring out the Codex and making it work. Host of Ascension came 4th. Ooh, at the Dark Sphere tournament. Alright. Yeah, since it's basically Ascension Day, people are used to it, so people are still going for that one. Right. Oh, did we end on the claw? We ended on the claw. It's probably too soon to say which one is the best, but there's your good choices. For this one, we can say both of them. Very high skill ceiling for each. Yeah, it'll work. You can make them both work very well. All right. That's the skill ceiling. You're bringing a Host of Ascension to the Tacoma Open this weekend. You look forward to skewing the data. Well, if you get really good successes, that looks great for us. And I think Games Workshop's learned not to take single wins from a faction as, yep, this is so overpowered. If you lose completely, and we lose all of our tournaments, then we know that, yeah, the army does not do very well with, like, the high power rate. It isn't able to, like, punch at the level it should do. Genestealer Cult need help, and hopefully a bit more than just a couple of points drops. But what we probably see is, in 2 months' time, we'll have a slight points drop on some units. Ah, Leeds Grand Tournament. Very good. Host of Ascension. Deploy, screen, block the enemy in the deployment zone. That's the only tactic I've got that really works at the moment. Yeah. But if we bring the win rate down, yeah, we'll get lower points on a couple of units. Maybe we'll get a few units tweaked with, like, FAQs. Then maybe if we're still bad 6 months from now, we can get, like, the Tyrannid treatment, where we get slight changes to the army rule or detachment rules. Something like that, so that it works a bit better. Okay. Yes, best of luck to those people. Best of luck to the Genestealer Cult players. Anyone taking sisters to a tournament soon? Is that going to happen? Or are we just like, nah, we got this. It's so easy. Just casually playing. Yeah. Okay. Now I have a few more left. Yeah, we have an army rule. It depends how good your dice are. Otherwise, we don't have an army rule. Right, let's look at different play styles. So this is more personal for you. There will be a certain way that you like to play this army. Now, it doesn't have to be the same for every army. You might really love transport shenanigans with Genestealer Cult, but when it comes to the Battle Sisters, you're like, well, I want to do something different because I also have Dark Eldar and I play transport boats for days. If I have a different army, I want to play it a different way. So fill the wrong cup. Or the tea. So we'll do some play styles. First one, I'm looking at close combat. The close combat kind of play style. Right, so if I change these words. There we go. Right, and we spent a lot of time talking about Genestealer Cult just then, so we'll switch back to Battle Sisters. Had your first win the Genestealer Cult with Claw against the Orcs. Ooh, that's a pretty close and high score. Was that with the Leviathan mission deck? Because I haven't seen scores that high with Pariah Nexus. I mean, it's like the occasional 100, but they tend not to go that far. It's in like the 60s or 70s that I've been getting with Pariah Nexus. Yeah, trap them in deployment zone. Demo runs. Yeah, because that's mortal wounds. Grenades. Grenades is a good stratagem we all have. Oh, yeah. I mean, don't have to go to 2,000 point level tournaments. Quite a few tournaments are like less than that. 1250? That was a recent one. 1,500, 1,000 point tournaments. If you're in like a crusade weekend, as some places do, you play... Oh, it's not 10 games. It's something like 8 crusade games over the course of a weekend. And you get a full narrative out of it, and you can try and achieve your army goal. And it's like, yeah, this is a great story as you're going along. And you keep getting paired against people who are doing as well as you. So it is kind of tournament-y. It is nice and narrative. It's a great mix. If you can go to a crusade weekend, I recommend it. Although it is yeah, I need to be booked in and prepped for this for 2 days. Which is why I like to give some tournament advice. Stuff like, take the day before off work to rest, and the day after as well. As you get older, as you're no longer in your early 20s, you'll find you can't spend a whole weekend playing games intensely and then expect to be totally fine for 8 AM the next morning. Yeah. Yeah, 750 to 1,500 points, that is also where I find the most fun. 750 points is, as long as no one goes crazy with a Death Star unit, it's great. It works, it's quick. 1,000 points is very good. And the Genestealer Cult detachments work better at 1,000 points than anything higher. 1,500 points, that's where you're looking at, you can fit this into a night after work. If you do 2,000 points, it's like, yeah, I got here after work, oh, I'm not leaving till 11, I have work the next day. Not good. Not good. You never figure out to put in a list at around 1,000 points. Lots of small units tends to be a good way to go. Not a lot of crazy combos are needed. And it's not quite half of what you get at 2,000 points. But that's why I like recommending 1,000 point lists to people. Oh yeah, it's a whole new boarding action things. Because boarding actions in 10th edition so far has just been, there were rules in 9th edition, live with it. And that's been about the extent of it. Haha. Oh wow, we've done 2 hours of streaming. Oh, we've done 2.5 hours of streaming. Okay. Maybe we'll be looking forward to wrapping this up soonish. Good time for me to mention that I do have affiliates linked in the description if you want to buy cheap Games Workshop products, you know, cheaper than going through Games Workshop. And I have the Ko-fi link if you want to do tip money. And if you want to become a channel member, that button is also underneath the title. And then you get access to all of the funny emotes. I just love the Von Soon. It's my favorite emote. And I don't know why. But you get the emotes if you're a channel member. Right, let's look at combat. Combat armies for the Battle Sisters. Bringers of Flame, at best it is okay. At best. Maybe even bad. There is one stratagem that's combat related. The other 5 stratagems are all about shooting. The army rule is all about shooting. The units you want are all about shooting. You get really nothing if you take Celestine Sacrosancts or Repentia or Archoflagellants. It's just what they do. It's probably the worst choice if you're going for a combat-focused army. You just want to hit things. Yeah, Morwen Val and Paragon Warsuits definitely breaks it at 750 points. You'll maybe be okay with just Morwen Val or just the Paragon Warsuits, but I wouldn't have both. Yeah. Oh yeah, 1250 points tournament. Yeah, that's the way a lot of people do it. 3 games in a day, so much easier than 2K, and you actually get the game finished and you get to roll all the dice. And you're not just pushing things forward into a pile and being like, they're there, behind that wall. I'll set them up if you need me to. Things like that, yeah. It's a shame the tournaments are so rushed. So rushed. Right, so Bringers of Flame is just bad. Penitent Host. It's going to be good, but it is limiting you to certain units because they're all tied to penitent keyword units. I mean, those are the combat units apart from like Celestian Sacrosancts. Oh, and Zephyrim. Oh, and then the characters like Paragon Warsuits. So it's good. It'll work with like half of the army. Then it'll be fine. Now then, think Hallowed Martyrs is very good. Gonna show up? Don't say it's okay. It's good. It's good. If you take any casualties, which will happen if you're not fighting first, then you get +1 to hit. Now your Celestian Sacrosancts are hitting on 2s. Now your Arcoflagellants are hitting on 3s. Your Repentia are hitting on 3s. It makes the units better. Arcoflagellants and Hallowed Martyrs worked very well. Your Repentia can fight on death for a stratagem, because they're likely to get blown away in one go in combat. So there's a stratagem there for you. Suffering and Sacrifice is a very good stratagem to just distract so that your Repentia stay alive, and something like 3 Arcoflagellants take the brunt of an enemy instead. You can only use it on... Is it infantry? Does it allow walkers? Hallowed Martyrs. Suffering and Sacrifice. Yeah, you can use it on walkers. So there's your penitent engines right there. They can work very well. All of them work well, and you're not limited to, oh yeah, I only get 1 turn of this particular thing, as you are in the penitent host. Remember, mortifiers in whatever detachment have fight on death. Scuba, welcome. Thank you for your support. Oh yeah, Arcoflagellants are not as good as they were, but they worked pretty well. They still work quite well. They're just not the level that they were before. But if you want them, if you want a combat, army, that's what this is all about. How do I field a combat army? Which attachment should I use? Arcoflagellants are doing pretty well. I think Hallowed Martyrs is going to edge out the Penitent Host. Then we have the Army of Faith, and they are going to be okay. We have 2 stratagems that work with them. That's it. It's a bit of an all-rounder, as we know. I mean, -1 to hit, even working in combat. That's good. You're not going to really need Light of the Emperor, but there are some enemies that are like, yeah, I'm -1 to hit even in combat, but not so much.
Riddlesmith just tipped 20 because of you. I will bring GSC to my very first tournament this Sunday.
Ah,
thanks for your great work. Keep it on.
Thanks. That's really nice of you. Riddlesmith. I hope you do really well in your tournament. I'm curious to know which detachment you're going to be running. I mean, a lot of people are thinking, yes, well, we'll go straight with the Host of Ascension because it's the one we know, and we'll just maybe remove the demo charges. I recommend removing the demo charges. It needs a lot of stratagems, enhancements, and abilities to make it work well. I don't think it's worth all that investment. It was sort of worth it in the index, but even then, in the index, I quickly dropped off with having just loads of demo charges and tried to get other stuff to work, which it did, just as an army. So, yeah. Yeah, no demos, no demo charges. Yes. Right, so Army of Faith, yeah, it's okay. We have a couple of stratagems that work. Divine Guidance is good. Faith and Fury to get Lance is good. All of them will work okay. Do I put it in good? It's going to work very well with the Zephyrim. It's going to work. Yeah, I'll put that in good. So just don't bring... If you want a combat army, don't pick the Bringers of Flame detachment. I've been against Battle Sisters where it was lots of Repentia, Celestian Sacrosanct in big blocks, in Rhinos. But the Bringers of Flame wasn't really doing much for them other than transporting them there a bit faster. There was nothing to support. So which one best? Bringers of Flame has Armor of Contempt equivalent, yes, which works okay in combat. I know it works with Righteous Rage, but you've got to throw a lot of Miracle Dice in there to get the Righteous Rage working. There is an enhancement in all of the different detachments that makes your combat Palatine better. If you look at my Palatine video that I did earlier this week, last week, end of last week, There's always something good. But which one's the best? If you're taking a combat army, I like Hallowed Martyrs. I think if it's a combat-focused Battle Sister army, Hallowed Martyrs will work for you. You've got rerolls, even if you don't need the rerolls because it's on Repentia. You've got characters get back up, so if a combat character, you can get them back up if they're killed by precision, or just you need to slow the enemy down and want to stay in combat and keep fighting. That works. Although you do resurrect outside of combat. But aside from that, you've got Fight on Death. 2 command points, but you fight on death. Yeah, I think Hallowed Martyrs is the best one. I mean, you know, it's pretty tight, but Hallowed Martyrs will work for all of your different combat things. Right, Genestealer Cult in combat. Okay. I'm going to put them as okay. The Auxilia is okay. You can have your combat units. You can still do the same things. Genestealers don't get worse. The Detachment is a lot about using, you know, combat support from shooting in the Astra Militarum, but if you can get the enemy in combat, it lets your big gun shoot. There is the stratagem that no one's going to be using for 2 command points that lets you shoot into combat with a Genestealer Cult unit. But, you know, we're looking at the Genestealer Cult. We're very much focused around having combat now. Index was a lot more, you know, shooting focused with neophytes and demo charge acolytes. Now that we're combat focused, your combat units will still do pretty well there. Host of Ascension is another one that's going to be just okay. Looking at the stratagems, what have we got for stratagems in the Host of Ascension? Host of Ascension, primed and... Oh yeah, you can use primed and ready. Primed and ready gives you critical hits on a 5+. That works all the time, doesn't matter if you come from reserves or not. If you have a Biophagus in your unit, you get lethal hits. Using that stratagem, you get lethal hits on a 5+. Whenever you need them. That's good. Other ones are much more shooting focused. Coordinated Trap, you need 2 units charging into combat to work. And yeah, the enhancements are just okay. So we have a good thing if you attach it to a Biophagus. One good stratagem with that. So they are okay. They're still very much a shooting focused list. If you want combat with the Outlander Claw, you're probably going the wrong place. It's a bit more shooting. It's more the tanks. It's more the speed. The Jackals are okay in combat, but you don't want to get them in combat because they don't hold up in combat. They can wipe away like the remains of a few units. If there's 5, I don't know, I think it's something easy, cheap, simple that comes in 5s. Ratlings. 5 Ratlings, they can drive over them, no problem. Yeah, oh yeah, you get rapid ingress sustained hits in melee for Host of Ascension as well. That still works, yes. You just need to make your charge. And there's one enhancement that gives you a 7-inch charge. I've just failed my charge roll on that every time. With a reroll. So I just don't rely on charging from Deep Strike. It seems so much better in 9th edition. Yeah. Yeah. I know you can move and charge in like the Outlander Claw. It's okay. I think it's just okay. But stratagems and support that way, I'm not seeing anything. It's keeping your units like there's a rapid feint so that your Jackal Bikers can stay out of combat. A long shadow trails to get them back. Deft maneuvering is only against enemy shooting, not enemy combat. Yeah. They are okay. You can do mechanized assault force if you want, but it's okay. Biosanctic Brood Surge is going to be good. It's all about combat. It's only combat. +1 to your attacks is great with Genestealers. 5 attacks on Genestealers, I'm looking forward to that. Aberrants with 4 attacks. Yeah, we're not quite Aberrants of the Index, but we're smashing things. We're definitely smashing things. All the stratagems are get into combat. Well, most of the stratagems are get into combat, do mortal wounds if you're close to the enemy, charge better. Yeah, that suits a combat army. We look at the Xeno Creed instead. It's the Advance and Charge Detachment. It focuses on metamorphs and acolytes. Doesn't matter if your acolytes have demo charges or if they have mining weapons, they get a benefit. If you're led by a character, you get a benefit. Whew, it's good. +1 to hit and wound, works in combat or shooting. Declare a charge when you advance. It's speedy. It's speedy combat. Frenzy Devotion is really good. You do hazardous. Okay, that's not great. But then you get an extra attack and an extra weapon skill. It makes your neophytes decent at combat, as I've found. Path of Anguish to get into combat, like the Metamorphs do. Tireless Fervor, fall back or advance and charge. Yeah. Yeah, that works. Okay, so which one's the best for a combat army? It's going to depend on the kind of combat unit you want. Pure Strains and Aberrants, they're one kind of combat unit. Acolytes and Metamorphs are another kind of combat unit. Yeah, Metamorphs are kind of nutty with the advance and charge combos you can do. You can't advance and charge with Metamorphs any other way. Ah, okay, we'll put it as a poll. Best combat. Biosanctic or Xenocreed. Let's go. How is the poll doing? Xenocreed 100%. Okay, Xenocreed's being pulled down. It looks like Xenocreed is what people are going for. There might be just one person or two people who say Biosanctic. Because yes, it is fully designed around your Pure Strains and Aberrants. You do get the Acolytes as well, because you can add the Biophagus to any of them. Then they get the bonuses, same as all the other units. So you can have a Biophagus attached with the Metamorphs. They'll get bonus attacks. They won't be able to advance and charge. Yeah. Are we thinking Xenocreed overall? Because advance and charge is very good. Alright. You want combat? Go with Xenocreed. Second choice, Biosanctic Broodsurge. Right. Next one, shooting focused. Should be pretty quick to do this for the Genestealer Cult. Properties. Shooting army. Right. If I just pull these down, move, be interacted with. There we go. Right, shooting. So, not Biosanctic Broodsurge. You get nothing. Above them, I'm going to put okay with the Xenocreed because you get things like being able to advance and still shoot. So if you want to do that with Neophytes, you can. If you want to do that with the shooting from your Acolytes with demo charges and Hand Flamers, you can. The reroll hit rolls from like Vengeance for the Martyr, all of the detachment bonuses from enhancements, well, apart from like Advance and Charge, they work very well with shooting as well. But it is getting into combat. Yeah, it's getting into combat. Let's just check that there is nothing for Biosanctic. No, nothing. No, none of the stratagems even work in your shooting phase. Yeah, that's bad. Don't pick that one. Yeah, 0 shooting abilities. Right. But, hey, well, maybe not say best in group yet, but if you want shooting, bring in half of an army that's known for having good shooting and not good combat. You can't even take the combat units like the Ogrins. You can take Rough Riders. You can take Rough Riders, that works. My tracking's getting slow. Oh, this looks so slow. It's okay. We'll be fine. Yeah, so you bring in more shooting. The stratagems are about shooting. The detachment rule is about shooting. It's very much shooting focused. The Host of Ascension. Pick the one I'm furthest away from, why not? Yeah, coordinated trap. That works for shooting or combat. Primed and ready is the default for shooting. You pop up, you shoot, you have lethal hits and sustained hits. Well, not both. With enhancement you have both, but you get it on a 5+. Tunnel crawlers, so you can shoot with demo charges immediately. Yeah, I mean, there's Our Time is Nigh for +2 to charge rolls. Assassination Edict is always giving you +1 to hit. Works in shooting or combat. Prowling Adjutant to stay out of combat. So you can move D6 inches to get away from the enemies, so you hopefully they fail their charge, you still shoot. A chink in their armor causes lethal hits, and it's more likely to work if you're going to be shooting. Yeah, it's a shooting detachment. Not entirely shooting, but shooting. Then the Biosanctic Brood Surge, we've done a Claw. The Claw! The Outlander Claw means focused around bikes and tanks. The stratagems are all shooting focused. Only for a couple of units. Might be okay. Yeah. Get that Inquisition symbol out of there. I think they're just okay. Because it only works on a couple of the units, not any of them. Devoted crews. Oh, that's an enemy shooting phase. Yeah, close range shootout. You have to be mounted or a vehicle. Yeah, that's about it. They're just okay. Okay, so which one's the best one? We have the tanks and the Imperial Guard. So very focused on shooting. It's probably going to be that one. Because the Host of Ascension has a few things that can make your combat units work, whereas everything, in theory everything, in the Auxilia is about guns, making your gun units work and do more guns, so that the other army, the other half of your army that doesn't do guns so well can gun better. Yeah, that's where the shooting army goes. Right, Battle Sister shooting army. There we go. There's the Penitent Host in its rightful place. There's nothing there that helps the shooting. I think there's no stratagems. Enhancements are not going to work. Oh, I know why the tracking isn't working so well. Background light. You need background light. That works better. Yeah, now we're moving around a bit better. Yeah, we've got no... Nothing? Is it just nothing? Penitent units, penitent units, penitent units. None of them have guns. I mean, the penitent engines do. The mortifiers do. No, not really. No, nothing shooting. Nothing shooting at all. Much like the Biosanctic Brood Surge, literally zero combat utility. Hallowed Martyrs is gonna be okay. Of their different enhancements and abilities, there's a few that are more combat focused. We did say that they were best combat detachment. Yeah, that's if you die, don't die. If you die, die well. Dying in combat, it's more shooting, absent. Okay, there's Praise the Fallen, so that you can shoot back in the enemy's shooting phase. Yeah, it's okay. It's okay. We've made it work in the past. I think the best we've got is it's okay. +1 to hit is useful on your shooting units, but we're hitting on 3+ often anyway. Yeah, it's going with it's okay. Now the Army of Faith. Let's make sure I know how much it's got for shooting, because I have much more of a shooting army than a combat army. Battle Sisters, I want that because I have combat and close combat with Genestealer Cult. We can do more Acts of Faith. We can get more Miracle Dice. The Miracle Dice, Blinding Radiance is resistance. Yeah, divine guidance, extra armor penetration works with shooting. Ah, we're not massively about shooting. It just works pretty well. I guess they'll have to also go in the okay. While the units will work better, things like the Exorcist, things like multi-melters. Okay, well maybe put it up a bit more. Because we have more acts of faith that we can do, and if you're throwing in something like a Dialogus, now your miracle dice are a 6, and you have more 6s than anyone else ever. So it can be very good for your damage rolls and just making sure it works. I know that you could do also, like for close combat, oh yeah, let's make sure we get a good charge off. Have this annoying piece of... Gone. So that can work for... Yeah, they're good. I think they're going to be good at shooting. A lot of the things they have, like Shield of Faith, Blinding Radiance, is about resisting enemies. Light of the Emperor is good because then when you're shooting and something's like, oh, I've got stealth, oh, I'm Death Guard, I've got this penalty. Light of the Emperor says, no, you don't. Light of the Emperor is Death Guard don't get to play today. Yeah. And it's a lot about the, like, the Seraphim, which one to be doing shooting. But I think we know where we're going to be putting the best one. Yeah. Bringers of Flame, though. Bringers of Flame. It's all about the guns. Your guns get assault. Your guns get extra strength. The stratagems are heavily focused around the guns. What do? Bringers of Flame... Rites of Battle, bonus to wound if you get out of transport. Cleansing Flames, devastating wounds with Torrent. What's the Blazing Ire? It's opponent shooting phase. One transport unit that was selected as the target of an enemy attack. Oh yeah, you can embark. That's right. No? Oh yeah, right. After your transport's been shot, the unit inside gets out and shoots. There we go. Well, I think we've got a pretty obvious ranking for them. There's your nice ranking. Probably the nicest ranking we've had for combat. For shooting. Oh, been on a while. Right, multi-metals are heavy flamers on paragons in an army of faith at 1,000 points. I don't think you can go bad with multi-melters, because then you can be doing max damage. Against enemy monsters and vehicles, you're more likely to hit and wound because of the Paragon's ability. You can just throw like a miracle dice of a 2 to get more multi-melter hits. Heavy flamers will be just okay. They work fine without Mor and Val, but when you've got bonuses to take down enemy vehicles and monsters, multi-melters are what you're going to want. At 1,000 points there are more light infantry, but have the rest of the army deal with that. At 1,000 points, the Paragon Warsuits are already a heavy investment, so if they can take down the enemy's big stuff, use that. That's what they're there for. The rest of the army takes on the lighter things. Right. We've got 2 left. 2 left. Speed. The next one is speed. Properties... Change the properties of the word. Speed. Okay, for Battle Sisters, we're actually pretty speedy all across the way. I just move them off. Hallowed Martyrs isn't giving you extra bonuses to your speed, although your different mechanized units, your transports, your vehicles, they will do better in the Hallowed Martyrs detachment because as soon as they take some damage, you get better at shooting. So if you have Castigators, Hallowed Martyrs. If you have Immolators, yeah, Hallowed Martyrs, as long as you're not taking the big heavy flamers. If the multi-melters instead, Hallowed Martyrs is okay. The Army of Faith, I mean, it's not giving... Yeah, it is speed. It's definitely speed. There is a stratagem that lets you put your Seraphim or Zephyrim unit back into reserve so you can come back. You can speed around with that, and your units are naturally fast, and it focuses on having the speedy units with the jump packs. It's good speed. Even the Penitent Host, it's only once per game that you get one phase where you get extra movement. I'll just check you don't get any, like, extra charge range in any of the others. Not the Hallowed Martyrs. Penitent Host. And the Penitent Host... +3 inches to move. Yeah, and fight on death. And +1 attack once per game. Right. Okay. Okay. Shushi. Shushi will eventually catch up.
YouTube recently sent out an email.
Okay. Okay. Yeah, so some speed. They've got a little bit of speed. They're not speedy, though. You'd have to put them in transports, and if you're putting them in transports, we have the transport detachment. That's got things where, oh, you can advance with a unit that's in a rhino. The rhino advances, and even though it's advanced, the unit can still get out. It's got guns. It's got transports focused, like 3 of the stratagems are all about transports. It's about getting guns up to the enemy. Oh yeah, everything has assault. It's the speedy one. That works. Definitely the speedy one. I don't think there's any, like, controversy there. It's speedy and it's guns. Speedy guns. Speedy guns is the way to do it. Speed for the others. Right. Now, Host of Ascension is pretty good because you're getting bonuses. Just say okay. You're getting bonuses to when you come out from Deep Strike. You're going to be doing a lot of coming up from Deep Strike. As many of your units as possible will be deep striking in this detachment. That's why you need the Primus. That lets you sort of get around. It lets you get close to the enemy. It doesn't give you that much reactive speed, or speed in general. Biosanctic Brood Surge is about the same. Yes, we've got Consolidate 6 inches. That gives you a few extra inches. Yeah, we've got bonuses to, like, charge. It's +1 to charge, or more than that, if you're with certain units. That's about it. Anyone can go in transports, but that's the same way for, like, all of the detachments. Oh, Scuba. Thank you. You caught this stream. Listening while you paint. Wonderful. Not a problem. I'm glad I could help you with your battle sisters. Yes. Where was I? Yeah, there's some bonuses. Some speed. A little bit of speed. Not the massive amount you want. I think we know where we're going with this one. Yeah, we're +1 to charge. You get a few extra inches. That's it. You get more inches if you're going the Xeno Creed. Then you get advance and charge on a unit with an enhancement and on a unit with a stratagem. As long as it's Metamorphs, Acolytes, or Neophytes, let's forget the Neophytes for now, but you can advance and charge. You can fall back and still... just still charge. Tireless Fervor. Eligible to charge when you fall back or advance. Yeah, so you can't fall back and still shoot, so it's not as good for Neophytes. But speed, it's definitely there. You can just keep throwing bodies at the enemy. You can get back into the fight quicker with the advance and charge stratagem because when you're coming back from Cult Ambush, you usually miss a turn. This lets you get back up there. There's some speed if you take the right units in the Brood Brothers Auxilia. But if you're taking Leman Russes, they're slow and ponderous. If you're going artillery, not a bad idea, then it's a bit slow. It's not going to move at all. And they have, I think, nothing that's speedy. I mean, there's Dark Network, which lets you move a unit a bit in reaction to an enemy deploying, but this is guns. It's slow guns. Yeah, nothing particular there. If you want speed, you go with the Outlander Claw. Why does it keep doing that? It's getting tired. I mean, yeah, Metamorphs have Scout, Pure Strains have Infiltrate. Pure Strains have Infiltrate in all the detachments. But Outlander Claw, Outrider Claw, Outlander Claw. We have gone too far. It focuses on the units that move fast. It is the mechanized army. You can shoot when you fall back for with an enhancement. You can disappear from a board edge and come back on a different board edge. You can move where your blips are, which you can do in quite a few of them. You've got a reactive move, Rapid Feint. It's speed. You can get around the board. Yeah, it's definitely that one. Bikes for days. Bikes for days. And then when they come back to the Cult Ambush, more bikes for more days. Now we come to the last one. And it is Endurance. What if you just want to survive? Now this is going to be quite interesting with the Genestealer Cult, because... come on, slowly be moved. Yeah. Because we have a lot of things where it's like, if the Cult Ambush works. If only the Cult Ambush were to work, then we get to have more bodies and we're enduring the enemy. We're surviving everything that the enemy's throwing at us. Then again, we're going down pretty quickly if you're going with the Xenocreed enhancement. The Xenocreed detachment. It's a lot of small units. That's not the right one. It's the other one. It's not the orange one. It's the yellow one. You can have a lot of small units. They die very quickly, but they come back. You have an enhancement. Words not deeds. No, I may be saying something that's Argent Shroud there. Xenocreed. Deeds that speak to the masses. That lets you reroll your Cult Ambush rolls for your battle line units. So not Metamorphs, but it is for both kinds of Acolytes and Neophytes. It's only one reroll per turn. It's okay. I found that some games it didn't matter, and other games it didn't matter for a different reason. Either because I failed the reroll, or I didn't need it anyway, or I was winning the game regardless. That's usually what happens when your Cult Ambush is in effect. So we have some endurance there. If you're going with tanks, I mean, we have more tanks. Yeah, that's pretty good. But we're losing a bit of Cult Ambush there, because up to half of our army is not getting the Cult Ambush benefit. There is one stratagem to bring back a regiment infantry unit on a 3+. One time though. You can only be successful one time. Then that's it. There is some endurance though. I mean, Host of Ascension, it's much the same. Not what it's not what you go in for Genestealer Cult. And you're relying on Cult Ambush. There's like, okay, there's one stratagem which is Return to the Shadows, which means you can survive. That's a tricky thing. I've never got to use it yet. It means that as opposed to the Index, where you got to take 2 units and take them off the board and put them somewhere else, and you come back next turn from like Cult Ambush, Deep Strike. Yeah, from Deep Strike, not Cult Ambush. In the Codex, if you get shot and you have to take casualties, you can go underground and do that, but you need to take bullets first. I have been wiped out every time. Just the whole unit goes in one, which is how enemies should be killing you when it's Genestealer Cult. That can let a unit sort of survive. If there was going to be multiple units shooting at it, it can survive one of those units. But that's it. It's not the best. Biosanctic Brood Surge, if you're focusing on your aberrants, that's where you got some toughness. Let's see, let's just check the stratagems. Biosanctic Brood Surge, we're just tough, we can get into combat better. If you're able to consolidate into an enemy unit, that enemy unit isn't able to shoot you unless they've got fall back and shoot. So you can survive that. You have, in theory, -1 to hit from enemies from shooting. But there's nothing that's going to boost your Feel No Pain ability. You'll be taking more Abominants. They give Fight on Death. Sort of enduring the enemy as you're still doing damage as you go down. You're taking some tough units. It's the tough units, the more elite version. I think the one that wins out is the Outlander Claw. that has stratagems to let you survive. That's where we get rapid feint, so you can move away from the enemy so you don't get charged. Devoted crew, -1 damage. Deft maneuvering for a Ridge Runner or Atlan Jackal unit to get a 4+ invulnerable save, and you already have stealth. You can get in front of the enemy and potentially take a lot to be gotten rid of. And then you can come back through Cult Ambush. And you're taking a lot of vehicles. Vehicles are tougher and not like entirely immune, but more immune to small arms fire than anything else. So if you want to try and survive, I think the Outlander Claw is the best one. Right. That's the endurance from a not really enduring faction. Battle Sisters. The Penitent Host is very good. It will give you things like Fight on Death. It has a lot of units that have a Feel No Pain. You can have a stratagem that gives a unit a Feel No Pain as long as it's a Penitent unit. Then you get a better Feel No Pain. Let's see who it works on. It is Purity of Suffering. You get a 4+ Feel No Pain. That's really good on your Repentia. And it's going to change the 5+ Feel No Pain currently of the Archoflagellant to a better Feel No Pain. It says Penitent Unit. Now, you use it on a Penitent unit, but it only affects Penitent models in the unit. So if you have the Catechism of Divine Penitence, so that you got like Zephyrim with the Penitent keyword, it's only going to work on that character that was upgraded in that way. Yeah, these units, the different stratagems, it says Penitent Unit, but it's all about... there's like Lash of Guilt. It's eligible to declare a charge in the turn in which it advanced. Yeah, that one will work with something like Zephyrim. Otherwise, we're not the best... It's pretty tough. It's pretty tough. It's got a lot of tough things. It relies on your tough units, your Penitent units that have the Feel No Pains, apart from Repentia, which can get a really good Feel No Pain. We're looking at a very low armor save, though. We're relying on that invulnerable save of 6+, which all of them have now. The Penitent Engines have it. The Archoflagellants have it. They shouldn't, but they do. Okay. If we look over at the Army of Faith, this is where we have more things. Army of Faith will give you several stratagems to help you. Blinding Radiance to make the enemy -1 to hit, and lots of the enemy units at that, because if you use it on one of your flying units, your Seraphim or your Zephyrim, all of your friendly units within 3 inches also get that benefit. That's not quite an army-wide enemies that are -1 to hit you through the shooting phase, but it also works in the combat phase. -1 to hit can be better than Armor of Contempt a lot of the time. Shield of Faith will protect you against mortal wounds. There's a lot more things that do mortal wounds now. That devastating wounds are also considered mortal wounds. Having a Canonist to just go, yeah, I have this free ability, it's my turn, I went first, might as well do a defensive thing. Great, Shield of Faith now comes on the unit. Your combi weapons from your Stern Guard are not going to be doing mortal wounds as they think they are, because I have a 5+ Feel No Pain against it. Angelic Descent will let you get out of trouble with a Seraphim unit. There's definitely some resistance here. The enhancements aren't doing anything massive, but you have more Acts of Faith, you have more Miracle Dice, because that's what all of the stratagems seem to be giving you. It's either here's your defensive thing, or here's more Miracle Dice. That means that you can have like a 3+ Miracle Dice, you pass a save. Great, that's all you need. It's useful for the different ones. Yeah, all the Penitent units got like a 6+ invulnerable save. Yeah, it's weird. Weird. But there's your very defensive stratagems. And your Miracle Dice to give you more armor saves. Bringers of the Flame is also good. You have your... Get out the bad. You have your army armor of Contempt equivalent. it lets you have reduce the enemy armor penetration by 1. It is called for us Shield of Aversion. So if you have a unit with a 2+ save, such as Paragon Warsuits, not your tanks, but basically your tanks, and any unit that has an Imagifier, you can make the enemy still be fighting you on a 2+ save when they had AP -1. It's really nice. And it's something you use most often. It's like, oh, I'm being hit by something with armor penetration. Yeah, I'm going to use Shield of Aversion. I think -1 to hit is a better thing to get because that's going to affect more enemies. If you're facing hordes of enemies, then -1 to hit really upsets them. Oh, your orcs are now hitting on a 6 for shooting. Your orcs are now hitting on a 4 in combat. That's going to upset them. Doesn't matter how many attacks they have, they're suddenly worse. Even the ones that have no armor penetration. And you're in tanks. You're in transports with this detachment. You don't have to be, but you should be. Iron Surplice is an enhancement to give a Canonus or Palatine a 2+ save and a 5+ feel no pain. Very defensive. I'm trying to think of like who it would work for the Valorous Heart. Would you go this detachment? Would you go the Bringers of Flame detachment? Would you go Armor of Faith detachment? Would you go Hallowed Martyrs detachment? You've got some defensive things here. This can work.
Hey, Ruby.
Yes, tea. It is tea. I am drinking the tea. Ah. It's nice and hot and good and warm. I think actually the Battle Sisters have a lot of endurance in the Codex because I'm going to put the Hallowed Martyrs there as well. The Hallowed Martyrs, you have a stratagem to bring a character back. That keeps you alive, because you are technically still alive. You were destroyed in rules terms, but your unit was not actually dead. So for Crusade, I think you come back, but you don't for like... The enemy still scores victory points for having killed a character, but you're still there. You're still in the battlefield. What else we got? You get more miracle dice when you die, which miracle dice that can be used on armor saves. Spirit of the Martyr is fight on death. Okay, I mean Praise the Fallen is shoot sort of on death, but not really. Suffering and Sacrifice can keep one of your units alive. Alright, if I drop them down to good and them down to good, because they're about the same. But yeah, look, everything's good. I'll let you decide this one, and then that'll be the last one I do. It's going to be a 4-way. That's not even a tricolor runoff. It's a 4-way runoff. The rarest of all the runoffs. Swamp runoff. So, best endurance. Is it Martyrs? Get yourself ready. Is it the Army of Faith? Is it the Bringers of Flame? Or is it the Penitent Host? Let's see what we come out with there. Bringers of Flame are pretty up there. Bringers of Flame is coming down. Bringers of Flame does have the tanks. It has the stratagem that gives you the Armor of Contempt. A lot of people like the Armor of Contempt. But I'm thinking the Army of Faith, with that resistance to mortal wounds. If your enemy is going to hit you with loads of psychic attacks that are like, yeah, this is an ability, so you just take damage, we have resistance to that, which is a very Battle Sister thing. -1 to hit works in shooting or combat. That's good. Even if you don't have the best armor save, it'll work really well on your unit. Hallowed Martyrs is really high up. You do get bonuses when you're being killed with the Hallowed Martyrs. So it lets you shoot better, lets you get out of sticky situations, much like, oh, I'll fly away, does for other ones. Interesting. This is moving all over the place. I love it. Army of Faith, not the Bringers of Flame, Hallowed Martyrs. Alright. I'll put it there. Hallowed Martyrs is your endurance one, but all of the Battle Sisters do well. Add an Imagifier to any Battle Sister unit that can take one. It has a 2+ save and a 4+ invuln. That's great. If you have a Hospitaller to any of them that can take it, you get a 5+ feel no pain and you bring ladies back. That's great endurance. Yeah, that's good. That's good. Alright, I think that is all of our tier lists. Yep, that's all the tier lists I had written down. That's all of my notes gone through. That's all the things I think I want to talk about today. Let's do a wrap up. And we don't need that on screen. No, we do need that on screen. That's the Ko-fi link. If anyone wants to give me last minute tip money, you are most welcome to, and it's greatly appreciated. That one. We'll get rid of that one. Have we had a good stream? Good. What's your go-to 1,000 points list? Ah, my problem is I'm still learning the codexes and like the good stuff. So, for Genestealer Cult, yeah, I'm going with Xenocreed mostly. I've done Host of Ascension a bit. I'm looking at Biosanctic Brood Surge next. See where I can get it. Yeah, 1,000 points is a good mindset. 1,000 points for Genestealer Cult. Do I have a list saved? This is where I find out I actually don't. Probably don't. No. No, that doesn't work. Okay. No. I mean, Genestealer Cult, I'm taking 1 unit of Metamorphs, a unit of 10 with an Icon Bearer, 1 unit of Acolytes with a Locust, and that'll be Combat Acolytes, because then you get Fight First. They can just hide behind something. You have a stratagem to advance and charge. Since it's Acolytes, you can take another character, which you can't with Metamorphs, which I forgot last week, but we remember things as we're told them, like, corrected. So I can also add something like a Magos into that unit. We're already fighting first. The Magos lets you take the enhancements. The enhancements only work on the Magos, the Primus, and the Icon Ward. So that's where I want the Magos. Then I can have the Advance and Charge enhancement. So I'm moving really fast. That leaves the Primus, and they can have more Acolytes. That can work. Or I can go with Metamorphs with Hand Flamers. Or Acolytes with Hand Flamers. Acolytes with Hand Flamers. Don't need the rerolls to hit from shooting. But I'm taking one of each of the characters. And I want a unit of Metamorphs. I think I have 2 units of Acolytes. Yeah. Because then the Primus can be there. And the Primus can make sure that... Sure, we're rerolling with our Hand Flamers. But you get the reroll hit rolls with your mining weapons. And that's where I put the Denunciator of Tyrants. Which gives you +1 to hit and +1 to wound against units that have a character. A lot of enemy units have characters in them. So you can get the enemy dead. And now your mining weapons are hitting on a 3+. Other things hitting on a 2+. And you're wounding really easily. Because even though you have Strength 5 can be difficult. But against a lot of things, Toughness 4, you're now wounding on a 2+. Very powerful. That can claw your way through enemies, and we have a stratagem to advance and charge. There's 3 blocks that are moving quickly. The enemy is not going to like any of them. And then to back that up, I think the first time I tried it, I was like, yeah, let's see what 20 Neophytes and a Benefactus can do. Bad idea. A couple of units of Neophytes. Maybe a unit of 5 Acolytes to hold the home objective. We could sticky it as well with Neophytes, but then we're generating command points from the Acolytes, and the 5 Acolytes can get bonuses and use all of the stratagems in the detachment. 10 Neophytes is harder to kill. 10 Neophytes can be doing the actions and scoring the secondary objectives. That's what they're for. Yeah. If there's points left, Reductus Saboteur is pretty good, or a Kelemorph to be popping in at the back of the board. Whatever is a cheap character. You could throw in another Locust just to be by themselves at the back to complete actions. That can work. Would you like Battle Sisters 1,000 points? 1,000 points go to Battle Sisters. Now I have one of these because I'm going to play it at the weekend. Let me see. Okay. I've got a couple of lists. We've got Palatine, 10 Sisters, 10 Dominions, Exorcist, Retributors, 5 Celestians, Missionary, and Crusaders, because it's allowed to have Legends units. And some Seraphim. That's okay. The one I'm looking at a bit more competitive is based around 2 big bricks. So we have an Immolator that splits a Dominion squad. Half the Dominion squad stays home. The other half is obviously in the Immolator. That's going for 1 central objective. An objective on, say, the left is held by a Canoness, a Magifier, and 10 Sisters. An objective on the right is held by a Palatine, a Hospitaller, and 10 Sisters. And I'm going to see whether the Hospitaller or the Canoness, the Hospitaller or the Palatine, no, the Hospitaller or the Magifier is going to give me better protection. But there's 2 very solid bricks that are going to be difficult to shift at 1,000 points. If the enemy charges you, you have the Canoness in 1 unit. You can use stratagems that support your combat ability for free. In the other side, we have the Palatine, and we're doing lethal hits, so even the Battle Sisters will be able to hurt things. And finally, there's 10 Seraphim, which are going for the enemy's back objective. Don't know whether I'm going to go with Bringers of Flame or Army of Faith. Considering the Seraphim are going to be by themselves, almost certainly Bringers of Flame. And that's my 1,000 point Bringers of Flame army list, real quick. Haven't tried it yet, don't know how it's going to go. But we'll see. Alright. If there's no further questions, I've been on long enough, I think, since it's been more than 3 hours. Yeah, 3 hours and 20 minutes. I keep thinking, oh, I'll do this in a tight 2 hours. No, not gonna happen. So thank you all for coming. I hope you've had a great time. I still accept tips after the fact. It's always welcome. Have a great day of 40k.